Get the link. Yes, it is. Oh, we're live. All right. Okay. Let's see here. Find dirty movies of Yumper and there it was. It's, fans only, only fans, whatever. Of Yumper though. Tainted Glove. All right, there we are. Boom. Tainted Glove. Oh god, here we are. That's like a weird, terrible echo.
Yes, yeah. And that laugh is even worse.
Sorry.
Crusty?
Oh yeah, that actually was. Okay, just gotta get. Let's buy. Try to get by. There's house. I found a way to make it fit. Boom. Wow, that was my watch vibrating.
Sure.
Oh, like Harpo Marx.
God dang. I did. It sounded like, wow. I must have had it like right up against the, yeah, I guess I did. Right up against the soundboard. Oh, was Georgia about to score? Monkeys.
Field goal.
They're about to kick a field goal.
Yeah.
Good to go. All right. And let's go to, wait, what am I thinking?
You know, we probably reduced our viewership in half by having these two guys on.
It's possible. It's possible.
Probably.
I did a poll tonight too about the boom. Oh wait,
You did a poll about the poll?
I did a poll about the game tonight. I'm curious to see. I haven't looked to see what the votes were about who people took. Obviously, no one's taking Georgia money line. That's why. That's wasted odds.
I hammered that Alabama plus 160.
Yeah, I got him plus 3. Let's see here. What is? You're watching the National Championship.
I think you're live, aren't you? Because I saw.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's live.
Yeah, we're live still. We're just gonna we'll start our thing in a second.
Oh.
We'll count it down. So a couple seconds. Turn down the volume and crank up.
Ooh, which episode of Quantum Leap is it? Is it the JFK episode, or is it the 70s filming earthquake episode?
Oh, which was it, or is it the Quantum Leap one where he plays football in East LA? That's one of my favorite ones.
Weren't they talking about making a comeback for that show?
I
believe so.
I mean, that's one of the original like multiverses. Oh, it's the baseball one, Mike.
Oh, nice. Well,
right.
Dean Stockwell is no longer with us.
It's true. That's true. Oh yeah, the JFK one was terrific. All right, you guys ready?
Yeah, let's do this.
All right, I'm gonna start. Oh, I got to bring up the video. Oh, it's over here now. I forgot. Brandon. All right, getting started in 5, 4, 3.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
It's time for the Tainted Glove, starring your favorite man of questionable character, Aloha Mr. Hand.
Hey, bud, let's party.
And the Holy Reverend K-Fids himself. It's go time, so grab a beer, grab a bite, and settle in. It's time for the Tainted Glove.
Aloha, and welcome to the Tainted Glove. I am your co-host, Aloha Mr. Hand, and with me are my co-host, the Reverend K-Fids, and 2 new official members of the Tainted Glove family. Yumper there, he would be below me, giggity, and then across from me in the Brady Bunch way is our guy Doughboy. Welcome, fellas.
What's up, gents?
What's up, boys?
How we doing, guys?
Well, today is January 10th, and we are all having a better day than Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy. Take it away.
rough. That's rough, Pete. Welcome everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Tainted Glove. This is the National Championship Monday, so we're all suffering from a tiny bit of distraction right now while we're paying attention to ourselves and our conversation, but at the same time hoping that our bets will hit over here in this national title game. Hopefully you've got the game up on your television, the volume down, and our voices up, because I'm pretty sure if you have our voices up, sooner or later somebody here is going to start yodeling, and it'll really make for a great background music as you watch the Alabama Crimson Tide roll Georgia. But thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. Yump, Justin, welcome. Doughboy, we are so glad you guys are with us, and we have been we're excited to have you guys join us as part of the squad, if we will. I don't know if we want to use the squad. I know people kind of get sensitive. We to the posse, or I don't know, the gaggle, maybe the gaggle. I don't know. We're not geese, but we thanks for guys, for joining us as well. We got a lot to talk about today. We got some Bears stuff. Obviously, the big day. Matt Nagy's had a rough day. He's turned in officially his application at McDonald's, so he's ready to operate the fry, the fryer, and then same with Ryan Pace. We're going to talk about the Bears. We're going to talk a little bit. That's going to be a big part of the discussion. Then we're going to jump a little bit into film, and we're going to talk about the Macbeth release from Joel Cohen, as well as the upcoming release of Scream, which I would say for all of us was an impactful film that revolutionized horror films at the time when they had started to get stale and a little bit predictable. We found ourselves with Wes Craven and Kevin Williamson finding ourselves with some really awesome content, and we're going to touch on Licorice Pizza a little bit with Pete. Pete finally got to see it, and then we'll close out, guys. We're going to talk about the 108-day gala out at Reggie's this weekend, where a certain member of this foursome was honored as a 108 Hall of Famer. So congratulations, Jumper. I'm sorry. But all that and a little bit more, I'm sure it's going to get off the rails on occasion, but thanks for tuning in. So I guess let's get right down to it, guys. Matt Nagy's gone. Ryan Pace is gone. We've talked about it in the chat a ton, and I know I've kind of trolled you guys a little bit because I was kind of apathetic. If Pace was gone, I didn't give a shit either way. But for you guys, I know you're a little bit more passionate about it. Like, Yupper literally jumped through the screen right now. But let's just take it around. Thoughts? Go for it. Pete, get it.
Thank God. I couldn't handle any more of Ryan Pace or Matt Nagy's non-answer answers, evading questions. And I posted this earlier on Twitter. Ryan Pace reminded me of George Costanza in that one episode of Seinfeld where the woman's trying to break up with him, but he needs her to go to the dance, so he just doesn't answer the phone, and he plays, "Believe it or not, George isn't at home. Please leave a message at the beep. I must be out, or I'd pick up the phone. Where could I be? Believe it or not, I'm not home." But I just see that being on Ryan Pace's voicemail for the last 4 years. Just a hunch.
Shout out, by the way, to Mailman Jack for him sharing the delicious. Apparently, he's not watching this. He's watching something else. He's watching Diane Parkinson's bikini highlights.
He's probably working out his legs.
It actually says "big boobs spilling out of her bikinis," 1980. So, congratulations, Jack. I hope you're enjoying Diane Parkinson instead of us. I think we're a little bit better looking, but you know what? I probably should have been showing some more skin.
Well, Mailman Jack to give you a picture of his thighs and his calves.
Those calves, my God.
Totally agree with, just totally agree with Pete. I know we kind of had our banter going back and forth when you were trying to troll us about Ryan Pace. I just look at it like I just think it was kind of a hindrance of having him even on the squad, or they're part of their front office, having a new GM come in and have to worry about him overseeing everything. So I was really happy that they cut the slate clean. Matt Nagy, unfortunately, didn't work out. He just couldn't adapt to the offensive schemes and defensive schemes that were adapting to him. The first year was looking like a fluke now. All those trick plays were great until everybody figured out what to do against them. And he really never really developed any offensive players. So we all knew he was out, but when they fired Ryan Pace, I was extremely happy it happened. And then we got the press conference, which we'll probably discuss in a little bit. What about you, Bill?
Today should have been, I don't want to call it a day of celebration, but it started my day off on a positive note, and then the press conference happened. I don't know where to begin with George McCaskey. Like, I should be used to it. I've been a White Sox fan my entire life. I've been a Bears fan for a long time now. I should be used to, like, this idiocracy, if you will. But I'm just amazed that they continue to step on their own feet. Like, why use 10 words when 2 words will do? Like, it's the first rule of salesmanship, right? Like, you've already sold the product. Shut up. We did what you asked us to do. Shut up. Take some questions, make them very vague and move on. And we got none of that. And we got our owner going back and forth with a Bears legend, and it's just a mess. Like, it's a mess.
Yes, I use this line about the White Sox a lot, and it certainly applies to the Bears as well.
What you asked us to do.
You take 1 step forward, you take 2 steps back. That's what they did today. All the goodwill they built up from 8:30 a.m. roughly to 1 o'clock disappeared by 1:08. Oh, hey, nice coincidence there.
Definitely. Fitz, what about you?
Yeah. It's obviously, you mentioned the outlier in 2018, and I posted a thing last night that was kind of, that stupid horse where the horse, the ass is drawn perfectly, and then the horse, progressively gets worse and worse, and by the time it's there, it's a kid's drawing at the end. And 2018 being his best year, Nagy, he came in as a grifter. He came in as someone that promised offense, promised, to be a guru of scoring, and it turned out that his best season only was possible by the second best defense of the entire decade in the NFL. Always ranked. The 2018 Bears defense is ranked as the number 2 defense. The defense, I think, had 36 interceptions. I think it scored 8 or 9% of the Bears' actual point totals that year in pick sixes and turnovers and scores. That doesn't include special teams. And Matt Nagy rode those coattails and got himself a playoff berth. But once the defense could no longer get the interceptions, get the turnovers, and start scoring as much as it did, under Fangio did that. Once Fangio took the job in Denver, that opportunistic defense, which was unsustainable, really, when you think about it.
You can't ask for a defense to keep up that pace.
No.
It's not fair.
Mm-mm.
It's not fair.
Yep. It's not only it's not fair. The problem is also the rules are so tilted towards offense that it's just impossible for a defense to maintain that level of intimidation, if you will, to accomplish that.
Yep. And that's what Nagy did, though. That's what Nagy rode that, and that's what that was his thing. So for me, obviously I didn't hate Mitch Trubisky. I didn't have the vitriol as everybody else did. So watching how it felt like Matt Nagy was constantly using Mitchell Trubisky as his cover, because it was always there's more playbook, but he had to dumb it down for Mitchell Trubisky. And now Matt Nagy's gone 4 years later, and we still haven't seen the other quote unquote half of that playbook. It still was stale. In fact, under Mitchell Trubisky, Matt Nagy won more games than he did with any other quarterback under his watch, and he had a Super Bowl MVP. And a very gifted young rookie this year, and then of course another veteran in Andy Dalton, and who else did he have? Gosh, he had a.
They sandbagged that kid.
Yeah,
they sandbagged that kid.
He was scapegoated. He was scapegoated out of town.
Yep, and it was he's not. He could be a serviceable NFL a quarterback in an offense that doesn't need to do much because they have a very good defense. He's fit for that. He can get the first down with his legs. He's not terrible. I don't think he's as bad as everybody thought he was, but I think he was a byproduct of very uninventive play calling as well. And he didn't get an opportunity to refine his deep ball because Matt Nagy would always pretend like he was scared to call a deep ball. And so it was always Trubisky's fault. Always. So I didn't like that about Matt Nagy immediately after the first year with Trubisky. And then especially moving to the second year, that bothered me that he didn't, he really didn't do things to protect his dude. Now I'm big on coaches protecting their dudes.
Well, the thing is, I personally, with Trubisky, to me personally, I think Trubisky was just picked in the wrong spot. let's be realistic. When the draft were coming out with all the scouts, they had Mitchell Trubisky rated above the other two quarterbacks. Nobody really thought that Patrick Mahomes was going to be a Hall of Famer. Nobody really thought that Deshaun Watson was going to be good. And to be honest, I'm glad they didn't draft Deshaun Watson. That's a big bullet they dodged. But Matt Nagy,
in hindsight, yeah, absolutely.
But Matt Nagy was brought in to develop this kid, which he didn't. Ryan Pace didn't even talk to his coach about drafting Mr. Trubisky. So and then we traded up for him. So right there, he has a target on his back. So you're now Pace and Trubisky are linked. His legacy is based on Trubisky. Matt Nagy basically was having a quarterback who uses his legs become a pocket passer, which does not work for Mitchell Trubisky. He's not a pocket passer.
Well, you can say the same thing about Fields too.
Same thing, but Matt Nagy refuses to change, which is why I said he refuses to adapt to what the defense is showing him, and he hinders his players. And to me, it seems like he was calling the plays the whole year. When Laser took over for a little bit, we had a little offense going, but when Nagy just could not relinquish that control and kept trying to take it back.
He was so lost in his bubble too that he couldn't see how blatantly obvious it was to everybody else. He wasn't fooling anybody. Like everyone knew he was running. He was calling the shots. Like
and just 2 weeks ago, just 2 weeks ago, he tried to throw the defenses under the bus. Well, I've had X amount of coordinators in X amount of years. I'm like, that doesn't change the fact that your offense is averaging, 14 points a game. Like, I don't care how many D coordinators you have.
Less than Tressman, right? Didn't they say less than Tressman even?
I don't know.
I think
I know Tressman's first year was better than this year. I know somebody posted that. So I'm assuming.
But this is an institutional failure. It is not all on Matt Nagy. It is not all on Ryan Pace. It is on both of them. It is on Ryan Pace because Ryan Pace was the hipster GM who had to do these fancy trades and move up to draft Trubisky so he could try and be the hipster guy. Look how smart I am. I moved up to one pick. Yeah. I moved up one pick to draft this guy. Second, part of the failure of Mitch Trubisky is that he never had an offensive line that could block for him. Sustainable blocking. And I don't care what anyone says. I'm very old-fashioned in this statement. Football is won and lost on the line, both offense and defense. Pace spent all the money on the defensive side, and he neglected the offensive line, which is why part of the reason why Trubisky failed. I think Trubisky was put in a no-win situation because you overdrafted him. That's number one, and he failed. I hate to say it that way. I don't think he failed on his own per se. I think he had a lot of help from his support group, aka his coach and his GM, in the reason why he failed, because you had a coach whose idea of offense was throwing a 3-yard pattern when you needed 6 yards for the first fucking down, and you had a GM who didn't understand that, you need someone to block for the poor guy, especially if you want your coach to make him a pocket passer. You can't have him stand there like a statue and just get attacked nonstop because you got a sieve for an offensive line.
So, Pete, you're saying that Matt Nagy is the reincarnation of John Shoup with the bubble screen.
Oh, God, the bubble screen.
Oh, God, yes.
Or Blabby Martz.
We haven't had a dog. We haven't had a dog on the offensive line since Kyle Long. Like someone that's going to go in there and stick up for his quarterback.
Although
I see a little bit of it in Tevin Jenkins. He has it, but then he gets morons that come in and tell him you got to go about it the right way. No, your quarterback gets hit late. Your quarterback gets hit out of bounds. There's no going about it the right way. You come in and you stick up for your guy, right? And we haven't had that dog on the offensive line since Kyle Long. So they've neglected, and I agree with Pete. Football teams, good football teams, are built from the inside out. The offensive line and the defensive line, your quarterback falls in place and you're good to go, right? And he neglected it. And today, his time was up. And I'm not mad at it because he made millions of dollars playing or being the GM for a charter franchise in the NFL. And now he gets to go hang out and, watch Paul Thomas Anderson movies like we do,
and argue about what Martin Scorsese movie is the best.
Yes.
Although I actually, I made a joke about Matt Nagy working at McDonald's, but I really wouldn't want to go there because that dude would fuck up my Big Mac so bad because he would be like, I'm going to do it my way because I'm going to be. No, don't be
me.
You be be everybody. Let's be anyway. So that was like that to me. I mean, they're gone. They're gone though, right? So like we've seen it. We've been frustrated. I mean, game days have been for fans alike. We've all gone through this kind of trauma together of so much potential and a really great window with a defense that with any serviceable offense the last 4 years could have been a very good playoff contending team. And
and let me say this. I want to say one more thing about Matt Nagy. You can always tell the value of a coach in how their teams do after a bye and after halftime. Matt Nagy's teams never won a game after their bye week. And how many times have you seen them come out in the second half and the other team's adjusted and they're standing there with their thumb up their ass like, why isn't this working anymore?
Halftime adjustments are a real thing. I used to we were talking about this before we went live, but Jimbo Fisher was the king of halftime adjustments at Florida State. Like if they were down, I knew that the Noles were going to make a comeback because you adjusted at halftime. And Matt Nagy never adjusted at halftime.
Yeah,
that was
issue. Yep, that was one of his two issues. I think there's a lot of games where it looked almost like the team wasn't prepared. You know, that line he said about we're going to be undisciplined and what? How did it go? There was a Freudian slip where he said we're going to be undisciplined, and that's how they looked, especially the second half of this season. I mean, you had a guy in the last game of the year forget to tag someone when they were on the ground, and they got up and ran for a couple more yards. Fortunately, someone else was there to make the tackle. You know, and it's wash, rinse, repeat. That's basically what the Bears have done since they got rid of Ditka. Coach.
Well, we don't have anybody that's a football mind, and this is the issue that I had with the press conference. I remember a while, you and me both, people were listening to the score. Rahimi and Bernstein were talking about how excited they were because Ted Phillips was not mentioned in the presser. And then
I was too.
It's Ted Phillips is in the damn presser. So then we started, spitballing. Okay, maybe it's because of the Arlington thing, which makes sense. But now he's on the search committee for a GM, even though Bill Polian's there. But when they asked George why is he there, he said, "I respect his opinion." Respect his opinion on what? He hired Phil Emery. He hired Ryan Pace. Freshman. But George says at the audacity to say, "I'm a fan. I don't know anything about football, but I'm choosing the damn GM and coach." That makes no sense.
We talked about it before. Oh, go ahead, keep going. Sorry.
No, I'm sorry. It drives me nuts because as much as I hate Tom Ricketts, he brought in the best in the business.
Yes.
To run his operation because he knows nothing about baseball, but he brought in Theo Epstein. Why can't the Bears just do the same thing? Why is it so hard for the charter franchise in the NFL that can't get anything right? It's embarrassing.
It's so funny.
It is. And can I say something else about that press conference? Now, as Yumper mentioned, we were spitballing it when they said George was going to be there, or Ted was there. And I said, hopefully it's because they're going to say he's been moved to focus on Arlington, which they did say. But then they said he's going to be part of the search committee, and he's going to be the one negotiating the contracts with the GM and the coach. And also don't forget that they would prefer to hire the GM before the coach, but that's not a requirement.
Right. We talked about it before we went on, too, is that Ted Phillips is like a bad penny. He keeps just turning up. And, we talk about George McCaskey, and it sounded, George today sounded like, well, my mom really likes the job that I'm doing. I painted some really pretty pictures of a duck, too. She said I'm an artist as well. But, and then you've got Ted Phillips, who's like his best buddy, who's living in the damn, living in the damn.
It's Cato Kalin. He's Cato Kalin.
He's just back there like, hey, OJ. Hey, OJ, there's somebody back here. There's somebody outside my window.
Here's my train of thought, right? Ted Phillips has done his job successfully. He has made the McCaskies a shit ton of money. That's his job, right? Yep. So if you're good at business and you want to negotiate contracts, cool. You can negotiate the contracts, but you have no say football-wise on who we hire. Hire a football mind, and you can crunch the numbers. You can make the offer. You can find out what market value is, and then we can go from there. But other than that, shut the fuck up and sit down. Like, the big boys are talking, and that's it. Also, by the way, my nephew Brian is watching, and he wanted to say that he respects the love for the Cubs on the podcast because he's a massive Cubs fan. I've failed as an uncle, but to be fair, I'm married into the family, not since birth. So,
well, welcome, Brian. Glad you're here, even though you're a Cub fan. But I just have one more thing to say about Ted Phillips. There was and maybe it's just me, but to me, there was a giant disconnect in something that was said. I just can't reconcile these two things. George said that Ted's responsibility is Arlington. Everyone agrees with that, correct?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Later in the press conference, Ted said that they're not closing on the deal until the end of 22 or the beginning of 23. And then they will do a feasibility study to see if a stadium can go there. Why is his only focus on Arlington? It's not going to take a year, 40 hours a week to negotiate and close that fucking deal. What is going on there? What? I mean, either you are or you aren't. That's it.
Unless this is another ploy to get more of what they want at Soldier Field. I just don't see Soldier Field as being feasible for this organization if you want to be a competitive organization.
And if you want a Super Bowl, it's not. It just won't happen. It's too small for a Super Bowl.
I think it's the deal's gonna happen. I think that was just him. I think that was just him bullshitting, trying to prolong him being in his position.
Very possible.
And anything he says at this point, I take with a grain of salt because he's a fucking moron. And he's a moron, but it's better than when Ed was running the team. Like, it's that bad where George is an improvement over Ed.
Ed or Michael?
I'm sorry, Michael.
Yes. Well, and remember, Ted got to where he was because he had to clean up Michael's mess with the Soldier Field reconstruction in 2001, 2002?
Well, wasn't it with the McGinnis too, right?
Oh, and the McGinnis hiring, yes. Where they called the press conference and they screwed him and he left.
And then they screwed him.
Yeah.
That's right.
Operate like a smooth, well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
I was supposed to be in Minneapolis yesterday for that game, and I am so glad that I was not there.
You're like, I'm so glad I got COVID.
Right. Thank God for COVID.
Said nobody except Bears fans that don't have to go to watch the Bears play the Vikings.
Yes.
Just go off what Zoe's saying in the comments about selling the team. Like, I think eventually they will sell. I think the big thing that's blocking it right now is Virginia and her basically wanting to own the team. But like from what I've been reading,
they don't want to pay those estate taxes.
Well, not just that.
They can't afford to pay those estate taxes.
A lot of the the estate taxes are one thing, but a lot of younger McCaskies are also, they don't want to run a football team. They just want to splurge their money. So
they're gonna get
the
stadium built.
Yep. Double the value.
Double the value and sell it. Yeah.
Yep.
Because the Bears would be the most valuable organization in the NFL if they own their own stadium.
Yes.
Yeah. How the hell do we don't own our own stadium? And we're like
never owned their own stadium.
They played at that shithole Wrigley Field. Like,
hey.
You are out of pocket, sir.
No, I'm right there with them.
You're both out of pocket.
Don't be mad because we have 12s.
I have no idea where this is coming from, but now
you have what?
12.
You have what? You also.
Sorry. All right, never mind. I felt like I was going to walk down to the ring. Let's go.
I went to go see Green Day at Wrigley Field, and they had a pyro show, and I'm like, please don't let this asbestos catch fire because we're never getting out here alive if it does.
I went to a game at Guaranteed Rate this summer, and I'm not going to say mean things.
And you saw Carrie with the greatest pose ever.
That was the second, almost as iconic as Jesus on the cross was Carrie with his hands on his head
After Nick Madrigal hit the homer.
Yeah, that was it was almost as much of a miracle as rising from the grave. So
Hey, Nick Madrigal, the number one Nick Madrigal fan is on here, so don't be saying anything bad.
No, yeah. My partner in crime over on the Pinwheels and Ivy, Matt, Zoe, Father Zoe, Outside Zoe, Daddy Zoe.
Stiff me on golf, Zoe. Too chicken shit to play me in golf, Zoe.
I really ran with that.
Oh, Zoe, that's a challenge.
Hey, the challenge was extended last year on their Festivus show, and he fucking whipped.
Hey, Baby Zoe takes up a lot of time. Calm down there, Pete.
Pete, how many salads?
This was before Baby Zoe. What's that?
How many salads are you going to eat for like whoever Nick Madrigal's replacement is? Home runs this year.
Depends on who it is.
It's going to be Lurie.
Without question. Lurie Legend's playing second. There's no doubt. No, well, see, the thing is, I think it's going to be Mendick and Lurie Legend because Lurie's going to have to play some right field too.
Oh, sorry.
See that? Watching the game?
Oh, damn.
A little bit of a turnover.
Yeah,
table. They used to tell stories when Nick Saban first got there, or when Jimbo Fisher first got to Florida State about the Bama table, how they would feed these guys and what their budget for food was. Because they're just bigger and faster than everybody.
Yes.
Yeah. Those big schools, man. Especially football ones.
Well, let me ask you guys this question. I know what my answer will be. Who wins in a game? The Bear or Alabama or the Bear and Georgia?
The Bear in Alabama?
Yeah. The Bear versus Alabama. The Bears versus Alabama.
Oh, that's not even.
I thought you're talking about Paul Bryant.
No.
I would say Alabama.
Maybe five or six of Bama's best players are even NFL players.
The Bears would run all over them.
Yeah,
with this current coaching staff,
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It's going to be Alabama.
It wouldn't.
No way.
It's like when we used to see UNLV could beat the Bulls.
Alabama.
You guys remember when USA Today ran that 1990 that UNLV could beat the Bulls, like the running Rebels with Larry and Ogman? Then it's just not gonna happen. It's just such a jump. It's like it's like a high school that he could play.
I will take Saban as a coach.
Oh,
because I think the second half adjustments would kill the Bears as usual.
Who did the Dream Team play in a scrimmage game? The 92, the Dream Team.
Duke.
So there was I can't remember reading that actually Duke beat them in the first game, and they erased everything. And then just to fire them up, the Dream Team didn't just slaughter them after that.
I don't know. I have not heard that story.
So I mean,
maybe in a scrimmage where they're
I'm telling you right now. Yeah, I'm telling you right now, in a game where they mattered, ain't gonna happen. Like not in multiverse, not in any not a chance. It's like
because maybe
such a difference.
Maybe 6 or 7 of these guys on the Alabama roster make it to the pros, where you're playing 22 people
those
that
guys
are pro worthy. Yeah, no, it's just.
Well, I don't know. I've watched the Bears.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, man, because these defenses, I think, would go. I think these defenses would go right through the Bears' offensive line.
I'm gonna go as far as to say that Bama couldn't beat Jacksonville in a game.
Yep. I agree. No question.
Bama couldn't. The worst NFL team would destroy the best college football team.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, I have no question on that one. So speaking of destroying, since the Bears have now blown it all up, we are now in limbo for a little bit as the Bears go through this decision-making process with the head coaching decision. So I've got a list over here. I got Adam Hodge or maybe it's Adam Hodge. This one?
Adam Hogue.
Is that how you say his name? Adam Hogue?
Yes,
sorry.
Hogue.
That's old Bears.
A really good dude too.
So I'm going to throw out some names, okay? And then after I throw them out, you guys tell me what you guys think and who's left off the list. Tell me your opinion on if one of those guys kind of strikes your fancy, kind of gives you a little blood flow. Let me know. But the first one he's got listed is Kevin James. Excuse me,
James.
Sean Payton. I apologize. Sean Payton.
Which Sean Payton? Sean Payton, or Kevin James Sean Payton?
Right. Well, I think the Kevin James Sean Payton is probably what the Bears will pay for. But the other Sean Payton, who's 58 years old, is one option that's mentioned. Mike Tomlin, who's currently the Steelers head coach, but they are also in a place of transition, age 49. Obviously, the big one that's kind of been like milking around, age 58, Jim Harbaugh, who may be negotiating again with Michigan, but I think he's going to be a Raider. Ryan Day, which is the Ohio State head coach, 42 years old, so a little bit of a younger guy. Old Bears favorite special teams guru Dave Tube at 59 years of age. Jared Leto, Jared Mayo, age 35, the former Patriots linebacker, who apparently is an inside linebacker coach with the Patriots right now. And I guess, I'd not even heard that name thrown out there before. But Byron Leftwich at age 41. Brian Daboll, who the Bears actually have requested to interview, who's currently with the Bills and a team that's competitive right now. You got Brian Flores who just fired surprisingly today by the Miami Dolphins.
It sounds like that was a personality conflict.
I was about to say, yeah, personality conflict. Nathaniel Hackett, which is going to be really hard for me if he were ever hired as a Bear head coach. All I could think of is like, what's a
Buddy Wackett
there? Yeah, she takes one of the Yankees. Maybe Buddy Wackett. So, he's probably not so good, but he is a Green Bay guy, I think, right? With Matt LaFleur, obviously Sean Desai, maybe possibly as a 38. He's been very popular. He's Bears popular. He might at least get an interview, but I don't know. But those are some names that are thrown out there. Who else? Was actually
Leslie Frazier.
Yeah, Leslie Frazier. Yep. Eric Bieniemy. An enemy. Is that what Nemo found? Go hide at the beginning of Finding Nemo. But let's see. Anybody else? Doug Peterson. He's also from the Andy Reid tree here. I don't know if the Bears want to.
He was on the Bears. He was their quarterbacks coach.
Oh, this year. That's right.
Yeah.
That's kind of
after he got fired from Philly.
I think we need a timeout from the Andy Reid coaching tree, to be honest.
I think we need a timeout from anyone connected with the Bears, to be honest.
That too, probably as well. So go for it. Drop it. What are those lists? Yeah. Also, I would throw the list of what's his name, the interim guy here in Vegas as well, because I don't know if the Raiders will retain him. But that dude has earned himself quite a bit. But of those lists or guys that you didn't mention, who are your guys? Who are you looking for?
Well, I'll be honest with you, I'd love Mike Tomlin. I would absolutely love Mike Tomlin. Don't see it happening. No way. Pittsburgh would be stupid to let him go. I just don't see that happening.
I'd like to make out with Anna Kendrick, but it's not going to happen.
Exactly. I just don't see that. Flores is a major surprise. And if the Bears could get him, I'd go get him. The thing I want to see them do is go away from, well, we need to bring this guy in because he's a Bear. Oh, he's a Bear. He's an ex-Bear. He understands the Bears way. What's the Bears way? One fucking Super Bowl win? Losing to the Packers every fucking year? No, you need fresh blood to come in and build a fucking sustainable winning culture. Period.
That's why I want
end of story.
That's why I want Ryan Day. I want someone that's already worked with Justin Fields. I want someone that's fresh, someone that hasn't been in the NFL yet. I want Ryan Day.
Yeah.
Me personally, I do want a former Bear, but he's run a successful franchise, and it's a long shot, but I really want Sean Payton to come. I think him filling the role as a GM and head coach can actually turn this organization around. Will it happen? Probably not. I do think Nathaniel Hackett is actually intriguing, considering he was on the Packers, and Matt LaFleur actually, I think, is a very good head coach, and maybe he did pick a good coach too. But I'm kind of tired with college guys like Ryan Day. I think I just want the Bears to hire somebody that seasoned. Leslie Frazier, great, but I'd rather have somebody that's a proven winner, not giving it a second chance with the Bears. And to me, I think Sean Payton should be. Fitz, you're on mute.
we don't know that Matt LaFleur is a good head coach. We won't know until it's nobody but Aaron Rodgers.
So you're running Jordan Love out there every week.
Yeah, and which, by the way, Jordan Love finished the season with more interceptions than Aaron Rodgers did this year and couldn't even put up a point against the Detroit Lions in the second half.
Who says Jordan Love
Well,
is a good quarterback?
Well, the Detroit Lions were ankle biting them. That's why.
Well, it really has nothing to do with Jordan Love, Yump. It has to do with when he's not running out the greatest quarterback.
Yeah,
Like-
what is the drop off?
Right, like that's where the drop off is. Like, my nephew just he's not in the chat, but he texted me. He's like, I think we need a black head coach there. Like, we need to move on from 85, and we take this team to a whole new aspect.
Actually, think about this: the GM decision right now. Bears have so far only requested to interview with all three are black GMs, which would make it the first black GM in Chicago Bears history.
Yes.
So they've only requested the three that they've requested. All are all black, and that it was obviously it would break down a huge glass ceiling for the Bears organization as well. So
and wasn't Fields the first black quarterback the Bears have ever drafted?
No, Vince Evans, way back in the day.
Well, I mean,
that's like, but in honesty, that's like in the 70s. So
well, even that, like, if you want to go with GM, like Omar Khan has been mentioned in a couple conversations. He works for the Steelers right now. Now they're saying that Kevin Colbert might step down eventually, so he might take his spot. But he is. I mean,
isn't he after the draft?
Yeah,
isn't he doing that after the draft for the Steelers?
But he's somebody I would love to scoop up if they can go in there and sell him on the franchise.
Right, because wait till 2020. I mean, either they can pay him more to stick around, which would be good for him, or he can take up the Bears job and not wait till after the draft to have no say in a whole year of work leading into takes the job, which would suck for anybody.
Another thing that's irritating me too, like Pete, you touched on this earlier, is that we're already requesting to interview coaches and we don't even have a GM in. I'd rather work on the GM first because you don't know if that GM is going to want that coach in the first place. So you're setting him up to failure again, a la Ryan Pace with John Fox.
I think you just hit it right on the head. You hire your GM and your GM asks your head coaching candidates, hey, Justin Fields is the quarterback of the future. How do you feel about working with him? And if they have any hesitation at all, you move on to the next candidate.
And it's not only that. You hire the GM and you say, here you go. Here's the keys to the car. Go do it. And you let him do his thing. No interference whatsoever.
And then you hire Jennifer Gardner to make sure that she can handle the cap space, just like she did for the Cleveland Browns, and you go from there.
Absolutely.
I do say this, though. This is really showing there's a little smoke here now. If the Bears are willing to go through this process without even, while still doing the process of going through the process of hiring a GM, but they're still going after, coaches, interviewing coaches.
They're going to collaborate on it.
I was going to say, this tells me that the head coach is going to be answering to that part of the hierarchy, and that your general manager is not going to have a say in your coaching decisions at all, but just on a personnel basis instead of, whereas they can maybe they're like, hey, Ryan Pace, you blew this freaking how many times now, bro? Sorry. And now they're going to say, we're going to handle this part of it. Whoever's coming in, but you just handle the roster part of it.
There's a major problem with that. There's a major problem with that.
Terrible if it's true.
The people who are doing this in your scenario are not football people. They're fans.
Yep. Which is what
and that's their own words. They're fans. That's not us saying it. He said it in the press conference.
Mm-hmm. It's so frustrating. It's just like I don't like. You have to have somebody like I know George is not right that statement today, but somebody has.
Oh hell no!
Who's coaching him to tell him what to say? You don't go out there and say you're a fan.
Probably the dude that tweeted last night at 9:50 p.m. Kickoffs in 10 minutes.
Oh yeah,
game. That happened last night.
It's just it's so embarrassing. Like, and I thought it was hilarious. Ray was saying, hey, Aaron Rodgers, since you own the Bears, you want to kind of run them then as well. Like, that's how embarrassing we are. Like, everybody makes fun of the Bears. My thing is, I think they want instant gratification with hiring. Take the time and get it right. Because if you find the perfect GM, then he can find the perfect coach for you.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be rushed.
Tony La Russa available?
Let's go get Joe Madden. He'll help out. Well,
Bears comes
there's
up frequently as Coach Witt would always say, fuck around in the hee-haw gang here running the Bears, which is 100% true, because it's laughable that we're even talking about this, but they're putting cart ahead of the horse, it looks like, and I don't know what that means for the GM's power and the GM's role, but it doesn't bode well when a bunch of fans are choosing that.
And can I say a couple
spot?
Yeah. I want to say a couple things about this. First, Brian, you're absolutely right. If talking about they had weeks to prepare for this, and they looked incredibly unprepared in that press conference. It's like it almost seems like they made the decision flying home from Minnesota last night. Second, talking about putting the cart before the horse. 1985 is 37 fucking years ago. Quit living in 1985 and trying to build a team on the principles of 1985. This is a different fucking league. It's structured completely different. You cannot have that defense in this league. They'd be all suspended. And it's not that they were doing anything dirty, but the NFL has gotten soft. And if you hit some of those people like they did back in the day, they'd be suspended. Second, I'm sorry. I know a lot of people believe in the run game, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't run the ball, but the league is built for fucking passing. If you breathe on a goddamn receiver, you get flagged for a penalty, for Christ's sake. You need to build a team that is offensively flexible, not this bullshit run to set up the pass. When you run the ball, 4th and 1, or at the end of a game when you're up and you're trying to kill the clock. That's when you run the fucking ball. It's just this outdated, antiquated model with all of the people who are like, Coach, we need Coach back. We need Ditka. We need Ditka back. That era of football is gone. I love that era of football, but it's gone. You can't build a team like that anymore. You need to get into the 21st century.
I'm just going to say it. I don't give a shit about 1985 anymore. I don't give a shit about 2005 anymore. Janet Jackson, what have you done for me lately?
Yep.
You have to earn my dough.
Sorry.
Like, I don't give a shit about either of those teams. They're great. I love them. There's memorabilia of them up all over my house. They'll forever have a special place in my cholesterol-clogged heart. But I don't give a shit about those teams anymore. Mm-hmm. I want to win a championship. I want to beat the goddamn Packers.
And Lovie Smith said it best. What should the Bears' goals be? Beat the Packers. Well, really, beat the teams in your division. You key on the Packers because they are the top dog right now. Like it or not, they are the top dog. If you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. And right now, you need to beat them. Right? Exactly.
Ric Flair, I had to go.
Right? But you beat them. Then you win in the playoffs. Then you win the fucking Super Bowl. You have to make the playoffs to win the Super Bowl. That's the goal. I don't want to hear we want to beat the Packers and win the division. No, I want to hear our goal is to win the Super Bowl. Period.
Mm-hmm.
I also want someone that's in there that is going to bring back a culture of, hey, this isn't just week 17. It's Packers week. It's Vikings week. It's not just any other week, right? Like, I want to go out there and I want to hit these guys and I want to get a W. I want to beat them because I don't like them and they don't like us. I want to bring that culture back, but I want to win the big picture.
And to your point, the giveaway that this team does not understand that culture is the Aaron Rodgers, I still own you play. That's the difference.
Right.
That's the difference between these two teams. Right there epitomizes the difference between these two teams. He's absolutely right. And you know what? He takes pride in that, and he tells you, fuck you, I still own you. And what did the Bears? It wasn't like fucking man up and do something about it. And I'm not saying, hit them illegally or anything like that. You know how to beat, you know what you do? You fucking beat them. Then you say, we own you, fuckers.
It's also a culture of just building around what the head coach and GM developed that culture of learning. Like for all the faults that Lovie Smith had, like just hearing former players talk about him, Alex Brown, Lance Briggs, like one of the things that stuck out to me yesterday was they were talking about Lovie Smith and him teaching them about how always diving on the ball, no matter what, even if it's an incomplete pass, dive on the ball. And Alex Brown was saying that it was getting so annoying to them that he kept telling them to do so, but it got ingrained in their head to do it, so they did it every time.
Yep.
We don't even have that as far as our coaches doing that. Like George brought up today about not touching a player it's down in week 1 and then in week 17. We've seen those mistakes, not just from Matt Nagy, but we've also seen from John Fox, and we've seen him even before that. We don't have anybody in here that's fundamentally teaching the players and keeping them accountable to how you want this team to run and how you want everything to run in terms of playing football the correct way. And that's
what did Lovie Smith do? What did Lovie Smith do? He took us to our last Super Bowl, right? And like that's exactly it. Like you need to have that culture change in there.
Like I said, he had many faults, especially on the offensive side. But as far as being a leader of men, he was great at that. Why can't we find him at that? And the reason that we can't find him is because who could we have running the team?
Yep.
We have
and to your point, but to your point about Lovie, and I'm not saying this to bash Lovie, but if you look at the Bears coaching tree, if you will, almost all of them, with the exception of Nagy and the genius Tressman, who I still maintain was Waldo in the Van Halen Hot for Teacher video.
No, he's the preacher from Poltergeist too, every time.
It's always been defensive oriented. Fox, Lovey, it's always been that, defense and run the ball, defense and run the ball.
Except
well, and yeah, that's right, exactly, right, and that's going to be Leslie Frazier. Yep,
that's what scares
exactly.
Dick Duran was a defensive guy too.
Yes, and again, where does that come from? Where does that come from? Oh, well, the Bears won in 1985 were perhaps the greatest defense ever put out on the field. 37 fucking years ago already. Let it
37.
Go.
It's been too long. I'm actually, and I love the 85 Bears. I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
I'm done talking about them. I feel bad. I love it. Honor the good guys that played. I'm so tired of it that, most of the people that are on Twitter at this point weren't even alive when the Bears won the Super Bowl last. Like I was 8 years old, for God's sakes. Like I was and it's a figment of a dream of a memory.
Yes.
And I cringe harder than when Jim Belushi is on screen. Just cringe when they're like, "Oh, Bears, 85 defense, bear weather, cold." Shut up.
To put it in perspective,
shut up.
The 85 Bears won the Super Bowl. Was it a week after the Challenger exploded?
No, 2 days before, because they were supposed to meet President Reagan, and it got canceled because of that.
I know it was
that's why Jim McMahon wore his Bears jersey when he went to the White House with the Packers.
Yes,
he never got to go.
Right, and I remember vividly. They won on Sunday. The parade was on Monday, and it was fucking freezing cold here, and the Challenger blew up on Tuesday because I was in school and they made the announcement.
January 26th compared to January 28th.
Yep,
I was actually at home watching Woody Woodpecker. I was on quad break. My dad came running out of the bedroom because he was getting ready to go to work and turned it off. I'm like, why do you turn it off, Woody Woodpecker? Holy crap!
Yep.
And I didn't watch it live. I was one of the kids that didn't get scarred live watching it on TV, but I know I had a lot of friends at school that were watching it live, and that was But just like watching the Bears game, it's very cringe, at least as far as on Sunday. So we got to see the explosion there too. But thank goodness Christian McAuliffe was not riding Ryan Pace. So so we talk about the Ted Phillips, the czar, and the replacements that we've got, and that the Bears are moving on. So from this point, does this affect? Now we know that the Bears are looking pretty good in free, in the offseason with cap space. I think they were ranked 10th in cap space. I'm not sure exactly what the numbers are. What kind of decision or what kind of person needs to be selected do you guys think that's going to draw the most talent? And what kind of talent do you think the Bears have within their means to grab? I know I've heard a lot of times about going for guys that are like a Calvin Ridley, who might be a little bit a question mark, but maybe worth it because he's kind of broken his ties a little bit or going after somebody that's recovering, kind of like they got with Allen Robinson, somebody that was recovering from kind of a catastrophic injury going into free agency. Who was it? Who were the two that they've mentioned?
Antonio Brown, was he one mentioned?
No. Can't think of it right now. Dude.
There were two. I remember two names, and they were like guys that they would have to take a little bit of. What's his name from the Cowboys? That just tore his knee. They're number 3. What's his name?
Gallup?
Gallup was one, and then there was somebody. Oh God, who was it? Oh, anyway, but there are two where it's like a kind of like a Jed Hoyer kind of move where you grab a dude that's basically coming back from like a surgery, massive surgery or whatever. Or what do you think? I mean, do you think what kind of choice do you think is going to draw the best talent possible for the Bears? I mean, because I know some players maybe like young, slam bang, cool GMs, and some like the old dude. Like, what do you guys think the move needs to be as far as perception for free agents?
I think
shore up the offensive line.
Shore up the offensive line. It should be your number one task to get Justin protected. Mm-hmm. Then you can sign a receiver like Chris Goodwin, who's coming off an injury, to have some speed out there. So, and then you have to get some speed out there to have some fast receivers to go along with Mooney. But shore up that offensive line to help Justin. Make sure Justin can stay alive. You don't want to him get hurt. He's your franchise cornerback at this point. Then you have to decide if you're going to extend Roquan Smith or not. So those are the top 3 things to do. Will be a wide receiver, your line, and Roquan Smith. Whatever you have left over, you just put back into what you got.
Now, what I meant.
Roquan,
what decision with a general manager is what I meant. Is like, what type of hire would be the most optimal hire as a general manager that you believe is going to attract, or as a coach too, that's going to attract the most talent in free agency? I mean, like, what type of personality would draw in the talent that you think is beneficial the most for what this team needs right now? I guess is better.
I think what you need to do is hire someone who has a cohesive plan and can basically sit at a board and draw it out for someone and say, this is how we need to approach this. I see you, receiver X, whoever it may be, fitting in here. Our plan is to go get shore up the offensive line so that our franchise quarterback, Justin Fields, has protection. This way, it will give more possibilities for you to get the ball, for him to throw you the ball. So it's a matter of being able to articulate the big picture. And that's part of the thing with George. George can't articulate shit when it comes to public speaking. Sorry, he just can't. But you need someone who could go in there and articulate it. And I'm going to use this example, and I know people will cringe because it's about the Packers, but Vince Lombardi, that Packers sweep, he could spend 8 hours breaking down that one play, talking about each individual person's movement on it and how it all flows together. So it's a matter of being able to coherently present a vision that isn't just, oh yeah, we're going to throw the ball a lot. Okay, how are you going to do that? We're going to have our quarterback throw. We're going to be a throwing team. No, you need to go into more details than that. And I think something Lawrence Holmes has talked about is so true. Matt Nagy seems like a nice guy. But when he said, we're going to throw the ball a lot, unfortunately, there was no one there with the Bears who could say, okay, that sounds great. How are you going to do it?
And that's another issue that I was like from the whole press conference when George was saying, he used Tony Dungy as an example when Bill Polian interviewed Tony Dungy, and Tony Dungy, he knew Tony Dungy was a guy within the first 12 minutes. Then they talked football for 8 hours. I cannot see George McCaskey talking football for 8 goddamn hours. He does
8 minutes, let alone 8 hours.
Yeah. So that's the issue.
I can't see George McCaskey tying his shoes.
That's my issue I have with them. Is they do not know what they're doing, and that if they, God willing, they fall upon a GM that knows what he's doing, that GM has to present a blueprint of what they want and what they're going to do with their head coach in line, lock and step. This is what we're going to do, and this is what we're selling to players. I keep going back to the Theo and the Cubs. How they get John Lester? They had a plan. We're going to win the World Series in X amount of years. We have these X amount of players coming up. You have this. This could be you on the mound. Same thing to sell to those free agents. You could be the next Bears great team. You see how they could use the 85 Bears. The 85 are they're loved in Chicago. You'll be loved if you win here. Do that, but show them that you know what you are talking about. Because realistically, there's players out there who want to play for you because they know what you're going to do, and there's players out there who want to play for money and know you don't know a damn thing. John Yurkovich said it himself. He went to Cleveland just because they're going to pay him, not because he would believe them anything there. You want those players that are going to not only come for money but also want to win something, and you have to present that with your presentation. And they don't have anybody right now to do that.
Yep, that's great point.
Mm-hmm.
So now that we're moving on to, we've talked to, we're hitting the middle of the hour here, or the first hour, I guess we'll call it. And so let's maybe jump around to a little bit. We've, you and I, all of us, the four of us, we chat quite a bit. We got Carrie in there as well, and a little DM2 talking film quite a bit. And so obviously we like to talk film here. So we're gonna transition a little bit over from the Bears on over to something that's far less fictional than the Bears actually contending next year, which is film. So this week,
but one of the film subjects you want to talk about really does qualify for the Bears too.
It's true. So, this week we're seeing it's very exciting. I know we're all in about that age bracket where when we were all roughly in college or a little bit out of college, the horror franchises had gotten predictable. I mean, they had done Jason X, which albeit not a terrible film because of its campy quality, but there was really nothing other than Candyman. Basically, it felt like throughout the mid 90s that really kind of scared us a little bit and jumped us. And so Wes Craven, New Nightmare actually kind of started it. I think he made the movie New Nightmare, which was a kind of a meta Freddy Krueger attacking the cast of the original Nightmare on Elm Street outside of the film. But Wes Craven's big rest in peace. Wes Craven he started the Scream franchise, which completely revolutionized horror films as we saw it. They actually tongue-in-cheek mocked it. It actually was both humorous and scary at the same time, and created a huge cult following. I can tell you from my age group, embarrassing. I wore jeans and a t-shirt for like 6 weeks, just the jeans and a t-shirt, because I thought that would make me look like what's his name, her boyfriend in Scream. So
Skeet Ulrich?
Yeah, I was
Billy.
I was trying to
Billy
be my
Loomis.
best. I was trying to be my best Ulrich. So just jeans and a t-shirt, for like a whole quarter at college. It worked, which was cool, but yeah, I like it hit us all. We all love it. I'll be right back. Matt Lillard became the tall skinny dude's hero because he was him, and of course then Wing Commander came out, but whatever. But the whole film kind of changed the franchise. So this week we get the 4th edition. Is it right? Correct? The 5th?
Yes.
That's right. They went 4th a couple years, right? A little bit back. And there was a TV show that they kind of tried to go with too. But now we're getting the 5th edition of the Scream franchise this week. And I know, Justin, I know you're a huge fan too. So I know. Let's just talk real quick. First off, let's talk about the film itself and the film franchise. For you guys, what has the Scream franchise been to you guys as film nuts, as people, especially the film into itself is it's internally looking at itself as it breaks down the motifs in the horror franchise as it lives out the horror franchise. So for you guys, what did that mean to you guys to see them kind of almost effectively break a form of the fourth wall and for each character? So I guess let's go ahead, Justin. I know you're a huge fan. Why don't you start with Justin and we'll go counterclockwise.
Yeah, so the Scream franchise is it's my Halloween. It's my Nightmare on Elm Street. I was very young when the OG Nightmare on Elm Street came out. I still love it, but it's my version of that. And it was something that my friends and I took very, we loved it, and it was great, and it hit a nerve. And actually, fun story, we were walking back from Sony Theaters in Streamwood to my buddy's house, and it was a freezing cold night, and it was the Friday that Scream 2 opened. And there were these girls, they were walking past us. They looked at my buddy Jimmy, who I've known since second grade. And they looked at him and they just said some terribly mean things to him for absolutely no reason. And I knew where they were going. They were walking to the theater on Friday night to see Scream 2. And I looked at them dead in the eye, and I'm like, you know what? Billy Loomis's mom is the killer in Scream 2. And their jaw just hit the floor. I've seen every Scream on opening night, the day it came out. And as you guys know, like, I bring Ghostface with me everywhere I go. He's tattooed on my arm. It is the most important horror franchise for me that will ever exist.
Well, Justin, you pulled a Rosie O'Donnell there with Fight Club, ruining the movie from. I'm a little younger than you guys, so when Scream 1 came out, I was 11, but I grew up on horror movies. Like me and my brother, my mom's favorite holiday is Halloween. So all the old classic horror movies, slashers, everything, I grew up on. So when Scream came out, I first saw it maybe a little later before the sequel came out. But in terms of that I like about the franchise, well, the original in particular, is that they make fun of themselves. Like Fitz, you were saying earlier, Craven already knew that the slashers were kind of going downhill with the continuous sequels. New Nightmares started, and Craven wanted to go another way, where he actually made a parody of a slasher film, but the movie was actually really well. Like, it was really good, and it continued on through the sequels. And I think actually the quality of the series actually doesn't drop off that much. It's decent. They continually are pretty good going forward. So they actually, to me, Scream actually brought a revival to the slashers to what we get in the future years of the 2000s. They kept that genre going and evolving. So that's what that franchise means to me. It's something that brought something up that was old and made it new again and better.
And I have a feeling this is probably why it felt so seamless with the sequels. It was actually written out as a full-length script, as well as 2 separate 5-page outlines for the 2 sequels, 2 and 3. He wanted to actually sell it as a franchise, so it was sold as this 3-part act, which is why it felt so seamless, because it was really written in that manner, which is really cool. I think that's really neat. There's a really cool.
I also think that, like, every once in a while you find someone that can write for kids of a certain age, and Kevin Williamson captured that very, very well. And he did I Know What You Did Last Summer, and he wrote Dawson's Creek, and he was able to capture that moment in time and kids of that age perfectly. And like I cut my teeth with Dawson's Creek and Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer. So I think that was another thing, like just capturing that era and that age group.
And ironically, you say that concurrently while he was writing this, whatever you wanted to call it, the scary movie or whatever, the scary movie treatment or whatever, he was actually writing another of his good ones that was kind of a cult classic as well, but that was kind of stuck in development hell for a bit, which was Teaching Mrs. Tingle with Katie Holmes.
Killing Mrs. Tingle, but because of like certain things in schools, they had to change the title from Killing Mrs. Tingle to Teaching Mrs. Tingle.
Correct, and the same with the Scream too. They had to take out a lot of the violence. So he had to pare it down a great deal of it, because there was a lot of internal organs being gutted, and like really gory content, and they had to actually taper it back.
Well, didn't Columbine happen between Screams 1 and 2? And that was part of the reason why he needed to do that. Was it Columbine? It was
Scream 2.
No, it was Vatek, wasn't it?
No,
it was
Columbine
Vatek.
happened in
99. Scream 2 came out in
1997. But the Teaching Mrs. Tingle actually was dummied down because of Columbine.
Okay.
Yeah. That he wrote it a long while before it was actually finally picked up.
There's a fantastic use of a song by Eve Six at the beginning of Teaching Mrs. Tingle called, what was it? Open Road Song. Oh, no, it was Tongue Tied. They used it at the intro to Teaching Mrs. Tingle, and it's fantastic. Severely underrated group from the 90s that people think were one-hit wonders, but just wrote some pop punk bangers.
Mm-hmm. And so, and for Pete, you're a little bit, you're the wise Gandalf of the group. How about you?
If I'm the wise Gandalf, you guys are screwed. But I was, to be honest with you, I was skeptical about it. I didn't see it I didn't see it the first weekend it came out. I was actually dragged there by the girl I was dating at the time, because we had a trade-off. It was, you go see Beavis and Butthead Do America with me, and I'll go see Scream with you.
Yes.
That's like a double win, really, in my book. That would have been like.
I snuck into Beavis and Butthead after Scream, so I saw that weekend as well. Yes,
That was the trade-off. So, like I said, I was skeptical, but within the first, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, I was hooked. Especially after and I can't remember the character's name, but the Drew Barrymore opening appearance, which they do a pretty good job of spoofing in the previews as well. Doing that whole scenario again.
Casey Becker.
Yes, thank you. I was hooked, and it was funny because back then I also had the massive hots for Courtney Cox, because to me she looked good back then before she started getting all the plastic surgery and shit done. But like I said, I was late to the show.
Was it what was it for you, Pete? Was it the Dancing in the Dark video? Was it Masters of the Universe? Was it Friends? What was it that did it for you for Courtney Cox?
Okay, first it was Dancing in the Dark.
Sure.
Then it was Family Ties.
Oh yeah, she was Michael P. Keaton's girlfriend.
Yes. Then Friends.
Because no Masters of the Universe at all.
Wow.
No He-Man at all.
Oh, I mean, yeah, but
disappointed.
Yeah, but I would say more so Family Ties than Masters of the Universe. Because if that jerkweed Alex P. Keaton can get a girl like that, maybe I can too.
That also, I don't know if you guys know this, but that also inspired Pete's political views. He went full Republican after Alex P. Keaton.
He was such a big fan of Alex P. Keaton, he actually brought a briefcase to high school. So
yeah, if I were to be Alex P. Keaton, I need to shrink like a foot.
So funny. So hey,
and if you ever,
go ahead.
Go ahead. I was gonna say, if you ever want a good laugh, there is a TV movie that Michael J. Fox did and I'm really freaking out because I remember this. It aired on a Sunday night after the Baltimore Orioles won the 1983 World Series. So we're talking October of 83, called High School USA. And it had Michael J. Fox and my other favorite smoke show from the 80s, Nancy McKeon. You ever get a chance, watch it, because it's got a who's who of 80s sitcoms. Dana Plato's in there. Todd Bridges is in there. A young Anthony Edwards, a.k.a. Goose from Top Gun.
Goose.
Yes. Do you ever get Crystal Bernard? Watch it.
I like my Michael P. Keaton, Bright Lights, Big City, mixed up with cocaine and bourbon. That's how I like my Michael J. Fox.
By the way, or The Secret of My Success too, where he's conducting his neighbors who are having sex.
Yes.
Did you know, by the way, that Todd Bridges and Dana Plato were both in High School USA?
Yes, I said yeah. Yes, I did.
Fizz, you got to talk about Scream. You didn't get to talk about Scream.
Yes, you got to talk about Scream.
Well, one thing too is, if you guys didn't know this, I know I'm like the king of useless information, but the actual Sidney Prescott role was actually signed. Drew Barrymore had signed on. She wanted to be a part of the project. She was Sidney Prescott, but apparently she had some other commitments that she had to pull out of it. So to stick with the film, she took on the role, the smaller role. And then obviously Neve Campbell was cast later, but the Casey Becker role wasn't her original role. She was supposed to play the lead role of Sidney Prescott, but because she was involved in it, it attracted other people. It's like, whoa, because this is when Drew Barrymore was really starting to heat up in Hollywood. Yes. She was making that comeback.
Pre-Wedding Singer, pre-Charlie's Angels.
Right. This was after Mad Love, and she was one of Two-Face's girlfriends in Batman Forever.
Yeah, at this point, I was at peak Drew Barrymore crush at this point. So she, and big actress. So this was a big part. This is the big thing about Scream that really was, I feel like, set the tone for the entire franchise, which is they took this extremely marketable, the most well-known cast member in the entire film. They took her, they put her in all the trailers. They made it seem like, man, let's go see this Drew Barrymore horror film. It's going to be great. Blah, blah, blah. And you go see this film and she's dead in the first 7 minutes. They kill her.
That was totally like a
Spoiler
Hitchcock
alert.
move. Totally a Hitchcock move.
Absolutely. It came out in 1996, man. Like I think that has passed.
But that's like a total homage to Hitchcock and Psycho.
Yes.
Well,
Jamie
yeah,
Lee Curtis'
absolutely. With
Janet Leigh.
Yeah,
Janet Leigh.
absolutely. And so, by the way, the Vince Vaughn Psycho was also really good. By the way, I don't care what people think, except for the Anne Heche vagina. But anyway, the big part about that shocks everybody. And we see this in TV shows and films nowadays. You do this. You have that intro or that shocking where you have no idea. Like with spoiler alert, Game of Thrones. Sean Bean. The showrunner or the perceived showrunner ain't the showrunner. And it shocks you, it kicks you in the gut a little bit, and it makes you feel like nobody is safe. And at that point, it does create a fantastic, nerve where you're like, oh, I like this guy. I like Randy. I don't want something bad to happen to Randy. I don't want something to happen to, what was Rose McGowan's character? Actually, everyone wanted something bad to happen to her in that one, but it was cool. And it really, Henry Winkler's the principal, and, nobody's safe. And
the janitor's wearing a green and red striped Freddy Krueger sweater.
Yep.
And Henry Winkler's like, not you, Fred.
Even with Randy's character, it was actually Jamie Kennedy who basically that was really when he peaked. Although what's it called?
Dude, Malibu's Most Wanted.
Malibu's Most Wanted was pretty up there too, but it was between him and Breckin Meyer. Oh God, please don't ever.
Oh God.
But Breckin Meyer,
trailer powered.
The movie would have been completely different if Breckin Meyer had played Randy. But like the nods to the things that made Scream, right? Like one of the VHS tapes, like the cover is Halloween, right? Like the other one is Clerks, right? Because Kevin Smith went out and made a movie, it was so perfect for the time. And I'm so excited that the original cast is back. I can't wait. I can't wait for Thursday night at 7:00. Trivia
question. All three of you, and maybe this will be an easy answer. I know. Which horror icon made a cameo in the first Scream? I'm going to give you a little bit of a hint. A TV reporter outside of the school.
Oh, yeah, it was
her head did not spin around in a 300
Linda Blair.
Yes,
Linda Blair.
It was Linda Blair.
Damn.
Janet Leigh was in Halloween H2O. Sorry, I got him.
Yeah.
I got him mixed up there for a
Well,
second.
and Janet Leigh also being Jamie Lee Curtis's mom, that helps too.
Tony Curtis, right? Tony Curtis is the dad. No.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Janet Leigh. Yeah. I remember learning that one. Oh gosh, that's great. So, all right. So, with that in mind, we've all talked about what we liked about the film. So, because again, this doesn't have to be just the first film; it could be all 4 films. Obviously the 5th film. We'll have to wait to see if there's any cool new people on this one. But I do know what's his name from The Boys is on there, so that's cool. He's pretty funny sometimes. Who is your favorite Scream character of all the characters come and gone, good and bad? Who was your favorite? Who stood out to you as your spirit animal in the Scream universe?
Spirit animal or the one you had the hots for? Because I have 2 different answers there.
So Pete's answer is who would I bone, and then who did I like? So his is. But yeah, I mean, honestly, like who's your favorite character? Honestly,
It's
Dewey.
Stu. Dewey's great, but it's Stu Macher. It's Matthew Lillard. He's kind of like, I don't know, like we already know what his role is in the movie, but he says things throughout the movie that like just crack me up. Like when he realizes that they're gonna get caught and he's crying, he's like, my mom and dad are gonna be so mad at me. And then he's
Live her alone.
They're sitting around like eating lunch. He's like, she's getting pretty pissed, man. You better live her alone. Get it? Live her alone. And then Randy's like, did you put her spleen in the mailbox? Because I heard that you put her spleen in the mailbox. It was just like Matthew Lillard's dialogue in that movie is perfect to me.
Yeah, he's
definitely
Shaggy.
Definitely Matthew Lillard's character is my favorite, but I also like Randy's character. Just them 2 together just cracks me up, especially like towards the spoiler at the ending when he gets stabbed and he's like, I'm black. Does he go? I'm bleeding out. He's like, I'm bleeding out, Randy, or something.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm getting a little woozy after the rain just starts.
Here, feeling a little woozy. But that wasn't Randy. That was Billy. He was talking to Billy in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the whole I like their whole interaction. They're too, like, just them being smartasses too made me laugh. But
Well, you know, those guys tour together all year. Like they go to different horror cons all year.
And with Skeet Ulrich too, right? Skeet Ulrich goes.
Skeet Ulrich and Matthew Lillard tour together all year.
Yeah.
And they do cons all over the country. And the next time they're in Chicago, I have some stuff I really want them to get signed.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So Pete, did you have more? Did you have more?
Oh,
it's just Courtney Cox. Like we are.
Well, I mean,
he likes
character is David Arquette. David Arquette is Dewey, because he's the bumbling, stumbling police officer who, gets the girl who I want to get.
Well, did you hear the fan theory on Dewey?
What's that?
Have you heard it, Justin?
Yeah.
Okay. So supposedly the fan theory is that Dewey is actually one of the killers.
In this new one?
In the new one?
Like leading up to
everything.
everything.
Or in general?
Whole universe.
Leading up to everything,
Okay.
Dewey was actually one, because I think in the beginning when Drew Barrymore's character comes, like there's somebody at the door and it's Dewey. He's there like when there's nobody there. Right when the killers were suddenly there. He just appears randomly when the killer is supposed to be in proximity. So they're thinking that Dewey was actually the one mastermind behind everything, which kind of makes a lot of sense, but we'll see with the new one coming out.
Yeah.
There's also a theory that Stu is not dead. We know Billy Loomis is dead, but there is a theory that Matthew Lillard's character isn't dead, and he is going to make an appearance in this one.
If he does, that'll be hilarious.
We'll find out in 3 days, my friend. 3 days.
I'm sorry, Pete. Go ahead and continue what you're saying.
No, I mean, basically, I'm all about, David Arquette and Dewey just because, he gets the girl at the end. And because I wanted to get that girl at the end.
At the beginning. All caps, by the way.
And in the
It
middle.
was also like the dialogue was so well written. There was a line when Dewey's arguing with his sister, Rose McGowan's character, and he's like, "Stop embarrassing me. He's my superior." And Rose McGowan looks at him dead in the face. She goes, "The janitor's your superior," right? And like it was just so
He just reminded me, in some respects, his character was like Barney Fife. If you really think about it, his character is like Barney Fife.
Didn't somebody call him?
Yeah,
he did. He then did Ready to Rumble, which was like the Brian Robbins follow up to Varsity Blues.
Underrated
Ready
movie.
to Rumble is
Underrated movie.
It's like a severely underrated movie that I think is hilarious.
It's hilarious.
Like, he was hilarious in that movie.
Have you seen the documentary about him? And it talks about
David
how
Arquette?
Yeah, and how that movie changed. I mean, he's pretty banged up, and it's actually hard to
he
watch.
did some serious.
He almost killed himself. He almost killed himself wrestling.
Yeah.
He was in a Vice episode where, like, I guess he was in like a hardcore match, and he was getting hit with fluorescent tubes that really cut him up pretty bad.
He cut his jugular, I think, at one point.
Yeah, he was bleeding up pretty bad.
To do this, and the documentary is about him. He produced the documentary himself, and it's about him trying to get back at his family. Of course, his sister passed away. Took her own life. He's had a real tough go at it, and obviously his older sisters are all well-known, pretty well-known Hollywood names as well too. But that's just sad to see too. But it's good seeing him in this. But he's pretty banged up. I mean, you could see I think he's moved into. We were talking about the Johnny Depp rot brain. I think he's getting to that point too. I think where he's. I don't know if it's
but less domestic violence.
Yes,
far less. Correct. Yeah. He's just he might end up in your front lawn, butt ass naked with a salmon wedge between his butt cheeks, yelling, "Here,
we've all been there."
Yeah. It's just called Tuesday here. So
that's called that's called Wednesday for me.
And Justin, when you were saying when Stu asked, "Did you call the police?" and Sydney goes, "You bet your sorry ass I did," and that's where he goes, "My mom and dad are gonna be so
mad at me."
Dude, he was so hilarious in that movie.
Yeah, my guy was Randy. My guy was Randy always. I actually screamed too. Spoiler alert! That shook me.
Yes.
I was shook because he was my guy. He was my nerd. He was my film guy.
In the van.
Oh God talking, and I was like, "Where?" Like I was, but his character just was great because his character is one that breaks down the rules of being in the horror film. And he's
yes, that's right.
the big movie buff, and anybody that's hung around with me for an hour, like at a bar, knows that I'm a nerd. And when I was in high school and college at that age, I was a Randy. I was that dude that like literally would not talk. He's talking about Ridley. The Ridley Scott discussion at the beginning of the film. Of the first Scream, like that to me, I'm like, dude, this is like awesome. Like, I love this dude. And he broke it down, and he was kind of a nerd, and the nerd kind of deserved to get Sydney too. And he always loved Sydney unconditionally, but it's also the law of the jungle. The weak get cold, I guess. So yeah, Scream 2 broke me a little bit, and that or you got plenty of other good characters, but a lot of the cameos too, the people that showed up in these movies. Apparently this one has a cameo as well. I think that's supposed to play I don't know. But that was Randy. It was Randy for me. So then he got carved the fuck up. He got stabbed hardcore.
Oh God, yeah, they killed him.
That was personal because he was obviously talking shit. He finally found his balls, and then just gets pulled into the van. Just bye. So with that, what is your favorite scary movie? Pete or 3? We got 3 scary movies. I can't do that, guys.
You want to do it round robin, snake draft style?
I'm not Roger Jackson, so I'm sorry, guys. I tried.
Yeah. Favorite scary movies. One of them, and like you said, I am the elder statesman of the group. The Exorcist.
Oh,
I remember my sister babysitting me. I was about 8 or 9 years old at the time. And she turned on The Exorcist, and it scared the shit out of me. Like the scene where her head spins around. Oh yeah, I'm like, what the fuck? I had trouble sleeping for a few days after that. But I'd have to say The Exorcist just because I had never seen anything like that before. And because that was really my first introduction to scary movies, if you will, at a young age. So I have to go with The Exorcist.
Okay. So one of my favorite ones, The Exorcist is very good. One of my favorite ones is the original Candyman. Really love the cinematography in it. The story. It's actually, I watched all those scary movies growing up, Pete, and it's actually one of the few movies that actually scared me as a kid because of Tony Todd's voice. Just the way he says, "Be my victim." The way he can appear nowhere. The fact that it was in Cabrini Green. I'm like I should think like, holy shit, like I'm on the south side. I mean, like we're not super close by Cabrini Green, but he could possibly be out there. That's just the thing when I was a kid.
Somebody works down the street from there.
Yeah. Just the whole thing just is crazy, man. Like
I can see it from the south doors every single day.
Yeah, that was probably one of the scariest, one of my favorite scary movies, like growing up, and it just freaked me out. And Tony Todd's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't know, we talked about it last week, but have you seen the remake? His cameo in the remake is fantastic.
Yes, and I love the
Is it on the Voodoo?
no. I love the,
no, I didn't buy it yet. I usually wait till it goes on HD movie codes.
But Justin, you notice
like
how
$6.
You notice how in the first original one they actually had you looking down the city at the beginning of the movie, and then in this new one you're actually looking up, which I thought was really nice little homage to it. Yeah, I saw. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I actually made out with Heather Frank first time we watched Candyman. Sorry about that, Heather. His dad. That's I remember my first time watching Candyman. The second time I was scared of shit, but first time.
So were you doing a Seinfeld during Schindler's List? Is that what you're telling us?
Junior in high school with heavy petting.
Oh, dude! Hey, tell me Schindler's List story.
What?
Oh man, everyone has one of those stories.
Oh,
yes. This story. It's actually a Seinfeld scene. Oh
God, yeah. My junior year of high school again. It was a hot streak apparently. Yeah. So this is obviously before the internet. This is obviously but Jurassic Park had come out earlier in the year, and the new Spielberg film was coming out around the holidays, around the wintertime, I believe it was, and late in the year. And I had this crush on this girl. She was a sophomore. Her name was Lisa Brown. She was gorgeous, really was gorgeous. And I was like, oh, I was a junior, so I was cool. I was cooler. So I asked her out and then said, yeah, sure. So we went out on a date, took her to Maggiano's at one Schaumburg place. It was great.
Streets of Woodfield, baby.
Yeah, baby. And so we went there and we had some dinner. And again, I'm thinking it's just a Spielberg. It was like a blink of like, it's a Spielberg film. Like, always just go. And so, the date was going well. We had a good rapport and, we knew each other from school, obviously, but it was looking good. It was looking good. And so we get to the theater and we sit down, lights go down and the movie starts and
starts in black and white, or it starts in color, then goes to black and white.
Schindler's List is the movie.
Yep.
Schindler's Holocaust date night. And so we go on this movie. It's like 3 hours long and it's torturous and traumatic and powerful and gut wrenching and just, it's kicks in the nards over and over on repeat. And movie's over. The end credit scene, which is they're going to place the rocks or the stones on the grave, and to honor the original people that actually were at the camp and that were saved by Oskar Schindler. And it's just there's no talking. And so finally, we basically sat there in the seats and the lights come up and it's stand up, leave the theater, not a word, get in the car, not a word, drive her to her house, not a word, walk her to her door, not a word. Neither of us could say a damn thing. Needless to say, me and Lisa never went on a date again, but I did go out with Heather Brown when we watched Candyman and Made Out. So I guess everything kind of transitions towards Heather Brown and heavy petting. So I guess we're fine there. It was a worst date night ever. You cannot just choose a worse date moment than that. So that was, I shot my shot, I guess, and well, it ended up at Auschwitz. So,
jeez. Well, whose turn is it now? My turn again, or
Justin's?
Justin's.
How do you follow that story? Yeah. Thanks a lot, man. Oh man. For me, it's always going to be the godfather of the slasher movies. It's always going to be the 1978 John Carpenter's Halloween. That's what started it all. I know some people say, other things, but John Carpenter did it, and he did it the best. I think that movie is just like, to this day, like I can't watch it alone. Like I need to have someone else in the house, and I have to check behind me, like going up the stairs to the living room. That to me, it's always going to be the OG Halloween.
Was it too? Did this hit you too? I don't know how you guys felt. Haddonfield, Illinois. To me, Haddonfield felt like Elgin Mental to me. Like,
oh, absolutely.
And I went to Judson for fuck's sake. So I'm like, even more with Halloween. I'm like, they have the don't pick up hitchhikers signs all peppered around
all along Route 20, all down Lake Street.
Yeah,
like,
all down Lake Street.
Hitchhikers. And you get off at McLean, and like, yeah, oh.
Yeah, so that always hit me as like, oh man, it's Illinois. Now, obviously,
I can't wait. I can't wait to tell that to my old man, like, who lives right off of Randall Road. Like, did you ever think about like the inspiration for Haddonfield is like Elgin? It's like, no, I can't wait to tell that to my old man.
Will profanities follow after he says no?
Probably.
Bro, I have to ask now because you're from the same area. Did you ever go to Munger Road?
Oh, I've been to Munger Road and Cuba Road.
They made a movie out of Munger Road.
They made a movie out of Cuba Road too.
Do you guys know this, by the way? Or are we just talking like gibberish?
We're
so
talking
Cuba Road
from the northwest suburbs.
Yeah, Munger Road is this dark, lightless road that's like haunted, and you go down that and you tell a ghost story. And as you tell the ghost story and you cross the train tracks, right when you cross the train tracks, they have a floodlight that's like motion sensor, and it goes on and it blasts you like a train's coming out of like nowhere, and it's like a ghost, and it's like the ghost train or whatever. And so you would go down there and scare people. It was fun because
there was a terrible like C movie made about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'm looking at it right now, Munger Road.
It's so bad. But that was the place to go, man. There was nobody there. And then, of course, when I was in college, we went there and smoked weed. But fine, whatever. It was also a dark place.
Own it.
There's a house there too, like an old abandoned house that was like you could see like highlights, and there's a light inside. Yeah, it's probably a homeless dude.
I think every area has like their own little ghost story. Like, I mean, for Southside Archer, for Resurrection Mary.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
The fingerprints on the bars at Resurrection are a real thing.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
You will never. I've seen them. They're
Yep.
a real thing.
I don't live that far from Resurrection Cemetery. And I've done the Halloween night drive-by to see if I could see Resurrection Mary. Never stumbled across her. But the fingerprints, the fencing, I've seen it. It's legit.
It's pretty creepy.
I drove once, and I actually did pick up Resurrection Mary, and I gave her the speech from Jay and Silent Bob.
The rules of the
Rules
road.
of the road.
The rules of the road?
The rules of the road. I read
George Collins' rules of the road?
Needless to say, Resurrection Mary made with the head. So
I'm just picturing George Carlin at the movie where he's just like,
yep. For me, forever, it's going to be the original Nightmare on Elm Street. I remember being an 8-year-old kid. My parents left for the night. Dad went to church. They had a big youth group event, and I was like, I'll stay home. I'll stay home. I was 8. I was good. I was fine, whatever. Turned off all the lights in the house, all the lights in the entire house, and then popped it in. A cousin that was staying with us had this whole collection of tapes, and this was one of them. Also, The Last American Virgin was one of those tapes. I just need to point out that I watched that. She had some dirty movies. So I was like, ooh, dirtier 80s movies. I guess like Revenge of the Nerds and stuff where I wasn't really allowed to watch that age. But I watched them because they were in her collection. But this one, Nightmare on Elm Street, I popped it in, lights off the entire house, threw it in, watched the whole thing. I dressed up like Freddy Krueger 3 years in a row from age 8, 9, and 10.
I'm not proud of it.
I'm not embarrassed. My last year was the best one. I had like the full when my parents went out and bought the real gloves. The real glove and the real mask, like the real really cool. And we were done trick or treating. We were walking back home. I put my mask and my glove in the bag, and some dickheads in a car rolled up and snatched my bag and drove off. I was like, broke me that night. But the other ones was like a mummy mask, and then I'm pretty sure I made use butter knives or something. I probably was not safe, but I know it's cardboard and then tinfoil. That's what I used. I was a boy.
And to show you how much of a nerd I am with horror movies, Fids, Nightmare on Elm Street, I think is based off a story that Wes Craven read in the paper, I think, about some family escaping, I think it was Cambodia?
And dying in the dreams.
Yeah, where they're having horrible nightmares, PTSD nightmares. And that's where he got the idea of Freddy Krueger.
Mm-hmm. They died in their dreams. And Johnny Depp's character, too. I don't know if you've ever seen how they filmed the sequence where the bed sequence where he's pulled into the bed and it explodes in the giant. It's upside down. They just flipped the camera or they flipped the set. That's actually coming from the ceiling and pouring down. So it's a really cool. If you've ever watched on Netflix, they have the movies that made us and the making of A Nightmare on Elm Street. It's a really cool how it tells all those stories about the inspiration and the ideas of dream sleep and how they got Johnny Depp, who was obviously a hot name at that time for 21 Jump Street. And how they cast Nancy, and of course, you got the greatest dude ever. By the way, John Saxon. I have a story.
Kung Fu legend John Saxon.
Yes. From Enter the Dragon, John Saxon.
Yes.
Also the dad from Nightmare on Elm Street, John Saxon. But he was also in a film that was actually filmed here in Vegas, actually at Bonanza. Funny enough. Or against Bonanza, they use Bonanza uniforms, and it's called The Pitcher and the Pinup, or The Pitcher and the Playmate, or The Road Home. They've had 3 different names, and we had a thing here called Cine Vegas, and I went to go see it, and John Saxon actually played the dad in it. So he was the name in the whole thing, and then the girl she was actually a former Playboy model or whatever, so she was acting sort of. The guy actually did go to Bonanza. His dad was actually an assistant coach at Bonanza for a while back in the day. The guy that wrote it and directed it. So anyway, we're in the screening at Cine Vegas. Me and my buddy Josh, and we're watching it, and the equipment they're using a Secor, and it's supposed to be 1989. Well, Secors didn't exist in 1989, so I'm picking apart the equipment choices because they're out of date. Because I'm a nerd, baseball wise, coach wise. I'm like, that thing didn't exist for 4 more, whatever. And I'm like, this movie. So basically, it turned into Mystery Science Theater with me and my buddy Josh. We were just look at this fucking just stupid comments and just and. By the time it's over, movie's over, and I'm like, all right, that was awful. My God, I feel bad for John Saxon. And guy in front of me stands up. Members only jacket. Legitimately, I remember this. It's like a a tan jacket. Turns around and it's John Saxon. Goes, you didn't like it? I'm like, and I had like nothing to say. My buddy Josh said it's the only time he's ever seen me speechless, and he kind of walks away. I'm like, I almost just got my still being heart ripped from my chest, and so there was a big concern there for a second that would happen. So yeah, that's John Saxon. That's my John Saxon story. So, Pete, I know we wanted to talk a little bit about you finally got to see Licorice Pizza.
Yes.
Just recently this week.
Mm-hmm.
What I guess. Well, I mean, it's basically named after an old record store in 1968 in Los Angeles. What'd you think?
Definitely not his best work. I mean, and it just, to be honest with you, I don't know if there's anything that could top There Will Be Blood. My personal opinion of his work. Boogie Nights is a great movie too, but for me, it's Blood, then Boogie Nights. And there's a wide gap in between them. But Bradley Cooper steals the movie by far. Absolutely steals the movie by far. And he's only in it for 15 minutes, maybe, if that. If it's even that. But I had two issues with the movie. One, Gary and the girl are not likable characters at all. Gary's an asshole. There's no other way to say it. He's an absolute asshole.
Gary? Who's Gary? Oh, sorry. Your son.
Yeah. But Gary's an absolute asshole. She's an absolute asshole. And the other issue I had with it, and you talked about picking apart that movie because of the baseball equipment. Well, there was a giant flaw in this movie right at the beginning. And I sent it to you and you said, well, I don't know. And I explained it. He goes, oh yeah, you're right. At the beginning of the movie, Gary leaves his little brother at home so we could go meet her at the Tasty Free, or at the Chinese restaurant they're going to, that he hangs out in. Now, it takes place in 1973. The little brother, is watching a Dodger broadcast because you hear Vin Scully, you hear him talking about Steve Garvey. So it's at least in the same era. But he's talking about the great season Steve Garvey had and what he's done in the postseason so far. Now, me being the baseball geek that I am, when I looked up Steve Garvey had a shitty 1973 season. And the Dodgers didn't make the playoffs in 1973, which I knew listening to the audio. The Dodgers made it to the World Series and lost to the Oakland A's 4-1 in 1974, a year later than when this is supposed to take place. And Steve Garvey was the MVP. So it had to be 1974 playoff audio they were playing. It just, and I know 99.9% of the people will say, who fucking cares? It just sticks with me. I'm like, at least be fucking consistent. Damn it. But I will say, soundtrack, awesome.
Yeah, fantastic. Did you guys get a chance to see it, Yump or Justin?
No, I have not.
I haven't seen it yet, and it hurts me emotionally because I am a Paul Thomas Anderson geek.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia just scored to take the lead, by the way.
You're a little bit ahead of me. Oh, dang.
Yeah.
Still got a quarter left, so.
Spoiler alert. Yeah, YouTube TV, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Always a daily and $1 short over here.
Yeah, I was streaming that too, Fizz. I just saw it right now.
Wait a second. Bruce Willis is a ghost?
Well, you mean Verbal was Kaiser Soze? What?
Wait, how did the crying gang get? Never mind. All right. Your gun is digging into my hip. So, yeah, Licorice Pizza too, Pete. I thought that if you don't know the plot, it's a relationship between a 25-year-old girl, young woman, and a 15-year-old high school kid who's an actor. That right there is a little bit cringy into itself. That's one of the funny. It was really funny. Again, Paul Thomas Anderson. You can watch his films and you're trying to figure what are you trying. You chose the ages for a reason. Like he had reasoning behind everything that he chooses. Every shot, everything, every shirt, every background picture, they're all there for a reason in his films. And I was trying to figure out the age difference, why it is. But when you watch the film, obviously there's large patches of genius. But for Carrie, who went with me, the minute she heard 25 and 15, she was done. Like done. There wasn't anybody else in the theater, so she was on her phone the rest of the movie. Yeah. But to me, I thought that it's not his best. It moves slow. Like you said, Bradley Cooper actually saves it when it's getting to the point where it's at a lull. Sean Penn and Tom
Waits.
Tom Waits. Their little spot is pointless but hilarious. I thought it was fun. Some people didn't understand what it meant, but those kind of save the movie from going into like total like mode. And there's a lot of running to each other scenes. I think he goes to that like to the well a few times in that one. But there are so many moments of genius, whether it's the the lens filter, the coloring, and obviously the soundtrack. It felt like Boogie Nights meets Almost Famous. That is what it felt like a little. It had that kind of a vibe, and again, it's not his best. But it's a Paul Thomas Anderson film, so I mean,
has he ever really made a bad movie?
And I want to clarify what I said. His work is still better than 80 to 90% of anyone else out there.
Right.
So it's unfortunate to me. He's got the bar so high that it's almost like
you're putting the pussy on a pedestal.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly right. You're hoping to see the next There Will Be Blood, and it's like, this ain't it.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's the thing too. It's kind of like a Wes Anderson film. A Wes Anderson or an average Wes Anderson film is still a great film. It's just not. It's not a Tenenbaums. It's not a It's not a Zizou, to me at least. For you guys, I'm not sure what yours are, but for you guys, what is your favorite Paul Thomas Anderson film? I know yours is There Will Be Blood. Yupper.
Yep.
Probably There Will Be Blood's probably my favorite one. I did like Punch Drunk Love.
Oh yeah,
I like that movie as well.
Yes.
But probably, I'm a big Daniel Day-Lewis mark, so There Will Be Blood's probably my favorite one. But Punch Drunk Love, close second.
God, it's like asking like who your. I don't have any kids, but it's like asking who your favorite kid is. Like,
Toe.
I think some of his stuff is like, I love The Master. I love Joaquin Phoenix in The Master. And I hate Tom Cruise, but I like Magnolia. I would say my favorite movie is There Will Be Blood, followed by Boogie Nights.
Yeah.
Because Boogie Nights just changed everything.
Oh, I snuck into that. I snuck into the theater when it came out, not because I was a kid or anything, but because I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to go pay to go see this whole movie. And I popped in, and it was the scene where he's auditioning with Julianne Moore. I'm like, oh,
yeah.
Which then started a long-standing 5 or 6 year obsession with her as well. In fact, I grew
up with a dad that didn't give a shit about what I saw. Right, like I grew up with a single father, and when he couldn't find a babysitter, he took me with to go see movies that he wanted to see. So like I, as a 7-year-old, got to go see Platoon at the Brighton Theater on Archer, right? Because my dad couldn't find a babysitter.
Did you go to Gertie's after?
No. I probably should. I probably could have milked it. I'm like, Dad, you just made me sat through this and Jacob's Ladder. Like, you're taking me out to
Jacob's Ladder.
So he came home from the video store one night with Boogie Nights, and I was like, oh, I'll watch it with you. And he had no idea what it was. So I sat there and I watched Boogie Nights with my old man, and I'm like, I am uncomfortable. That was my introduction to it, because he showed me all the cool movies like Platoon and The Deer Hunter, and then we didn't know what Boogie Nights was, and now we know what Boogie Nights was.
I have this mental picture of Eugene Levy sitting on the bed next to with Jason Schwartzman when he puts his hand on his leg just for a second, and he flinches, he's that's all I could think of is awkward.
All right.
Hilarious. I a huge fan of Inherent Vice, by the way. I don't know, guys, if you guys watch that, if you guys have enjoyed that one. I watch that from time to time. Just still now, I love it. Just I don't know. I love the noir aspect. It's an adaptation of a novel. of a crime noir novel. But I thought it was just Joaquin Phoenix being weird and just the cast.
I've never seen a director that could take his own material, right, and then take the material of someone else like Upton Sinclair and Oil and Inherent Vice and do both things. Right? Like Kevin Smith said he could never direct a movie that he didn't write. And the first one that he did was Cop Out with Bruce Willis, and it was awful. Paul Thomas Anderson does both.
The Turd Burglar.
He does both.
Yeah, and the cast on Inherent Vice, it's Joaquin Phoenix, Josh Brolin, Owen Wilson, Catherine Waterston, Reese Witherspoon, Benicio del Toro, Martin Short, Jenna Malone, Joanna Newsom. It just goes on and on in there. It's a long, slow film. I saw it with a buddy after a long day of teaching, and we had a couple beers, and he not long into the film, but not because it was boring, but because it was one of those reclining chairs, and bad idea after a school day. Those are Saturday movie choices. I have to go to a normal, uncomfortable theater to go if I'm going after school. Because after school, if I sit down at that point, like that one time I accidentally swallowed my mask when I was snoring during, I don't even remember what I was saying. I think I snored I actually dozed off during 2001 on IMAX. And what woke me up was that psychedelic scene when he passed out. And I'm like, oh, we're here. All right. But that's a good one. But still, for me though, it's still There Will Be Blood. I think that's his best work. But Inherent Vice.
I just want to know if Paul Dano is going to scream drainage at some point during the Batman movie.
Batman walks up. He's like, "Is this your milkshake?" No, it's my cappuccino.
Drainage.
There's a question mark in there, bro. Oh, my bad. Wrong movie.
At just the end of There Will Be Blood, when he's sitting there at the end. I'm done.
Yeah.
Bastard in a basket.
Yeah.
Oh, that was just. Oh, I went to a party after that because again I saw it on a Friday afternoon after school, and we went to the party that night, and everyone's like, "What's up?" I'm like, I just watched Daniel Day-Lewis bust a dude's head in. The kid from The Girl Next Door. The tripod just got his head beaten in by a bowling pin. So he's not gonna. This shit is loving. He won't.
Just that whole sequence of him throwing the bowling ball at the bowling pin at him. He's like freaking out. It's hysterical. Like Daniel Day-Lewis is such a great actor. Such a great method actor.
Yes.
Do you think he'll ever come out of retirement?
Yes.
I never seen it.
I think so.
He's got one great movie left in him, and it's going to happen.
I think if a film proposes a good challenge to him, he will.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys.
If he gets another Lincoln type of movie, is what it is.
Yeah, Phantom Stitch was great. I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Or Phantom Thread, excuse me. Yeah, Stitch. Wow.
Yeah.
Lilo and Stitch. Phantom Lilo and Stitch. No, Phantom Thread. That was good. That was interesting too. It was very panicky. It made me feel a little panicked, but he considered that to be his best role, I think, is what he said at one point. Or maybe he was just doing PR, publicity or whatever, but that's a good one too. So last we're going to dive in. This weekend was a very special weekend down in Chicago at a little comedy store, comedy club, comedy place called Reggie's. And this weekend was the big 108 party extravaganza where everybody got to come in and everyone got to go except for 3 people in this chat. But it was a really cool event and had a big party. And at that event, our guy here, Pete, was inducted into the 108 Hall of Fame. So I know it was a really cool thing. We got to see a lot of pictures. But give us the guy on the floor, boots on the ground update. Tell us what was it? How was it? Talk about it. What happened and what was the event? And did Wally hump your leg?
Wally was Wally.
Yes.
Wally was in drunk Walter form. But
that means it was a good time. That's all we need to know.
Yeah. Yes. First thing, you weren't here, but everyone else was. We had a terrible ice storm Saturday, and it made getting around a little rough. just, walking down the street, everything else. But the turnout was a lot better than I thought, factoring in the weather and also the world we live in right now with COVID and everything else. There had to be at least 50 to 60 people there, probably even more than that. But, a lot of people everyone knows was it. Mailman Jack was there. Steve-O was there.
I saw Steve-O try to get on the microphone and sing Journey, and what's his name? What's his name from Buffalo Wings and Rings? Shut him down.
Justin.
Yeah. He got into South Detroit. He hit the South Detroit note, and it was like, get off the microphone.
Oh, you mean Barry?
Oh, yeah, Barry. That's who it was. Yeah. Kicked him right off the microphone.
Yes.
Stop. Okay. And you just walked.
Yeah.
I love Barry.
You had Herb and Tanny there formerly from Locked On Sox, but obviously from the Score. White Sox Dave from Barstool was there. Josh Nelson was sort of the MC and ran the first panel of questions. Then the guys did a panel with Dave and Herb and Tanny. And it was a good time was had by all. It was nice to see people you haven't seen, some in over a year's time. Others you saw at the end of the season, at a playoff game, things like that. Also meet new people. There were some people I had never met before who showed up there, so it was great to meet those people as well. Obviously, the table I sat at, it was me, Mr. and Mrs. Nominson, Justin's favorite people.
The worst.
Mr. and Mrs. Walter. A good time was had by all, and the panels were great because, as Josh said at the very beginning, this group may be the perfect group for a panel when you can't talk about baseball because they're in a lockout and there's nothing to talk about. So it focused on, what do you want to do in 22? What do you think you'll be drinking? What'll be the beer of choice in 22 at the ballpark? Stuff like that. There were a couple of announcements, and I know some of these are already out there. There is going to be Sox Machine 108 trips to Minnesota in July, like July 15th, I believe the date is. Don't quote me. But whatever weekend in July that the Sox are in Minnesota. So there's, the plan is to go take over a bar, go to the game on Saturday, then take the bar over again after the game. And then also a road trip for the final series of the season in San Diego to go to the San Diego Saturday game.
Wow.
That's also on the docket.
I might be sticking my thumb out on the 15 as you guys roll through town.
Yeah.
Scoop me up. Oh.
Yeah.
So,
those are the two trips that they're strongly looking at. I will be completely honest. I already have a hotel in Minnesota. I already have my hotel booked.
I'm doing the Minnesota one. I can't do the San Diego one, but staying with my brother, not paying for a hotel.
There you go. That's even better.
And I'm excited for that one. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. So that's, and they talked about that a little bit because the Milwaukee trip went so well. They had 300 to 400 people tailgating in Milwaukee, which, if you really think about it, yes, it was brutal. And they had the roof open and there was no air circulation in that place whatsoever. It was brutal. And it's funny because they go, why don't they close the roof and turn the air on? And a Brewers fan said to us, no, you don't want them to close the roof because they don't turn the air on. It's like, oh Christ.
You could have farted in that stadium and there would have been more of a breeze.
Yes.
Which means if you really would have farted, it would have just sat there.
Yeah, pretty much. Yep. You would have been sitting in your stink. Yep.
Oh, and just
swamp. It was.
Oh God, and muggy.
And major swamp ass for everybody that weekend.
Everyone brought the talcum
powder. It was
powder.
Brutal. Yeah, it was
weekend.
Brutal out there. It was. Oh, it was a great time. Was had by all.
Would you say it was a gold bond weekend? A gold bond weekend? Is that an accurate description?
Oh, it was like the scene in Chef with John Favreau and with John Leguizamo. It was absolutely a gold bond weekend.
Yes. Yep.
What did they put that?
Bet your ass it was.
Crisco or no, that's not Crisco. They put some powder down their pants. And Chef.
It was just starch.
Starch,
Yeah, starch. There you go.
Yeah, cornstarch. Yeah.
Yeah, cornstarch.
And then John Favreau was like, "You could dip your nuts in baby oil and make hush puppies afterwards."
Such a great
movie.
And
That's actually my movie that I watch when I'm not feeling well. Like if I'm sick and I don't feel good and I just want to be on the couch, Chef is that movie for me.
Nice.
I digress. Sorry, Pete. I don't want to take
no
away
worries,
from
no
your
worries.
108 day stuff.
yeah, and afterwards, after the panels finished, they had a comedy show that kicked off at midnight, and I give these people credit because it takes a lot to stand up there in front of people and try and tell jokes. It really takes a lot, especially when you miss.
Oh yeah,
Because there were a couple of people who were pretty good, and one guy in particular who was really bad.
I heard Carrie got zinged. Did Carrie get it from one of the comics?
Oh yeah, Carrie got zinged quite often by one comic because the guy was talking about the South Side versus the North Side, and Carrie said he's a Sox fan and he lives on the North Side, so the guy just went after him after that. So you're one of those people. And the guy said he was a Sox fan from 70th in California or whatever it was, whatever. But it was a good time. Good time was had by all.
big turnover.
Oh.
I don't know if that's a pass or not, though. We'll see. That's great, though. Yeah, I was hoping to get to go out. I actually had a flight. I was at a hotel.
Yes.
It was going to be kind of like the worst kept surprise ever. And I went to dinner with Carrie, and as we were getting ready to go out, I was packed, ready to rock. I'd go to the airport, take a midnight flight, going to get in at like 6:30. Had early check-in. The hotel even said they'll have a room ready for me as soon as I got down there. So I didn't even have to, I could have checked in at like 7 or 8 a.m. Could have maybe taken a nap, maybe gotten, I was going to go get a beef, and then I was going to go meet these guys up, maybe go get got to get pizza somewhere, and then go to the event or whatever. And got a text message from the airlines. Your flight has been canceled. Check your email. There's a $50 voucher for you. And so then I had to go, and I'm like, okay. And all the flights, everything was like either booked or it was just absurdly expensive. I'm like, last minute. Mm-hmm. So I kind of tapped out. So I had to cancel the hotel. So I didn't get to go. But it's kind of, instead I got to do yard work and cut down giant bushes.
Why didn't you go see the Blackhawks play the Golden Knights?
I just honestly, I was joking about going that night, but that was just me joking about it because I was trying to show a ruse that I was going to be in Vegas going to the Golden Knights game, but actually showing up at the 108 thing. Mm-hmm. My buddy went. He was there, but a lot of my friends were actually there. But I just didn't. I was tired. I worked all day. I sawed. I was a desert bush lumberjack. I really did feel like B. Arthur's beautician. I was just cutting down old dusty bushes in the backyard. And,
Jesus Christ.
So it just takes a lot. It had to take a lot out of me that day, and so no, but didn't get to go. But we all got to see some of the pictures and stuff, and I really wish we could. We all wish I think we could have been there. We all had our little things that kind of kept us away, but in the end, it looks like the weather was pretty rough too. So in the end, I'm pretty happy that I wasn't there because she was like, "Oh, you'll be okay." And
yeah, honestly, if you would have come here, if you would have got in, I think you would have had a question on whether or not you were getting out.
Yeah,
because it got ugly here Saturday.
To make matters worse, my Sunday afternoon, I got a text from Southwest saying, "Hey, your flight leaves in 2 hours." I'm like, one more time. So I had Carrie punch me in the face and kick me in the nuts a few times, and it felt better. So,
did it leave, or did you get notifications that it was delayed?
It left on time, actually. So that was
wow.
It's out of Southwest though, not shitty ass Frontier. So, I think at Frontier they gave me just enough to vouch for a one-way free luggage. But I'm gonna use that. I decided that obviously the rain check is going to be obviously that guarantees that I'm coming to the game this year in the 108 with you guys. So I'm gonna gotta figure out. I'm trying to actually. I know Sean Jankowski he's going there, and so I think I might try and coordinate when I come out to when he's going to be out there too to go to Sox game.
That'd be great.
Love to see that dude. That dude's a great dude. So
and also hopefully Willie's going to be out at some point this year.
Mhm.
Yeah, I missed Willie this year. I kind of felt bad about that, but like I was just with everything.
I just
Yeah.
saw him. I just saw him a couple weeks ago.
He lives in Vegas. He lives in San Diego. But yeah, I got a message on Friday, but it wasn't. It had nothing to do with the flight. So, yeah, so I couldn't go. I really feel bad because I was actually planning on going. I had it all set up to where I was going to go down there. But
Yeah,
I'll see you guys soon.
oh yeah. It, like I said, it was great to see most of the people. There's always those one or two who you just don't like, but it was great to see most of the people, and meet new people as well. But again, it was a case where I was impressed with the number of people who showed up, not only for, the COVID world, but the weather as well. And I think
Also,
it's a testament to what those guys have managed to build. To be totally
shout out
honest,
to the Drunk Uncles for their donations to charity. 3 great
Yes.
charities I had, and shout out to the 108ers who donating. I thought that was a real nice little touch they put on there.
yes.
I think that I'm gonna.
Yes.
I know it's our first time. It's our first time as members of the show. But the 108 dudes are good dudes.
Yes.
They're good dudes. They're good people to be around. And I enjoy their company thoroughly. And even Pete made a joke about it earlier. Even that dirtball Burley Cat or the Nomentons, we joke about it, but in reality, like Matt has become one of my best friends. But shout out to the 108 dudes because those guys make things happen and they're good people.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Yes, absolutely.
Can attest to that. I mean, I know Fids through Pinwheels and Ivy, met a bunch of the 108 guys in the Y6 Twitter, met Pete through that, met you, Justin. Beef actually had me in his house when I first met him. And actually me.
Yeah, you got to see the hot tub.
Yeah. So like Beef and Chirizi, we go back and forth with DMs and stupid shit that we always talk about. Really good guys. Always there for any advice or anything in terms of anything. Good dudes.
And also, I'll say this, that one of the things they are doing for charity now, they are each donating. Let me rephrase that. They each selected a charity that they will split any proceeds up 33% to each, because they are selling these. And for those on the podcast, you can't see, but they have
Goose
108 baseball cards, and it's a pack of cards. It's not just one. And you can get just the regular set. You could get one of them to autograph it, or you can get a set with all 3 autographs. So this set has baseball cards
I want to see your card, Pete.
The Goose. There's the Goose. Here is Chirizi. And again, if you're not watching on YouTube, you're missing out. That is the Chirizi card.
It's like a character from Happy Days.
This is the Beef Loaf card.
That's a good one.
Definitely.
Solid.
This is the My Sock Summer card.
Oh, that's that picture when he was. That's right. That show where he was staying in my own prison. That's a good one. That concert footage.
Yes. This needs no introduction.
I love that says right field MVP.
Yep.
That's hysterical.
This really needs no introduction.
Oh yeah, the cauldron that might have started COVID.
Yes. This one is Yump, Fids, this one's for you.
Oh, gross.
Dong,
I don't want it now.
Clark the Cub. Oh man.
And this is a collaboration with a 108 legend.
Oh,
Ah,
With
McDonald's All American.
and they did reach out to him, and he did pose for that picture and sent it to him.
That's awesome.
That's all you need to know about how cool Daniel Polk is. He thought it was hysterical.
They should have just had a picture of his cup that he sent them, like Daniel Polk's cup.
Well, the cup came with the picture.
That was one of the best videos that MSS put out with the cup video. It was so great.
For
Still-
those who don't know, for those who don't know, Daniel Palka is a 108 favorite. He's a very good guy, and he's collaborated with the 108 on stuff. So they reached out to him about taking the picture, which is on the baseball card in the 108 card set. And he posed for a picture, and then he also sent a game-worn cup that he autographed for them. So there is a video on the 108 YouTube page of them unwrapping the game-worn cup from Daniel Palka.
That's so. I mean, honestly, if you guys wanted to get me for my birthday, it would be a Gary Gaetti signed cup. So I mean, I'm right there with you.
Oh my god.
That freaking banana cup, behemoth.
You spoiled the surprise, man. That's what I was working on.
Hey, it won't be as nice as the poop that Carrie sent to me after KB got traded. So I got poop in a bag. Poop in a bag from Carrie.
It probably was taller than him.
Well, and he screwed up. He made a typo, beat a smart ass. He actually messed up on one of the words. So I actually had no idea what it was supposed to. I just saw KB something, but I was like, I don't know. Is this like anthrax? I don't understand them. Is this like, what is this message? And then I finally started like look at it, and I'm like, okay, wait, something about KB traded. Oh, it's in quotes. Okay. Oh, that was supposed to be quotation mark, but the quotation mark is right next to the P button. So Carrie rolled his thumb on over to the P button instead. I was like, oh, but he was pooping. Just poop in a bag. He said me poop.
Excuse me.
Celebrated my former player getting my heart broken with the Cubs trading him away. He sent me a bag of poop. So thank you, Carrie. You are the gift that keeps on giving.
Make Carrie a good dude in my book.
Yes, and Carrie got, like we were talking about, the one comic was all over his shit, and I was all there for it. It was great. It was absolutely hysterical to listen to.
Oh man, yeah. That well, I thought it was anthrax. I thought I was going to die. So I guess, we've got some. I really did. I'm like, did I do something to one of my students? Oh hell. But we've talked a lot of stuff about the Bears. We've talked, about some films. It's been a good, good conversation. Talked about the 108 day. So I think it's about time to kind of put a pin in it tonight. But Justin, Yump, do you guys have any last words? I guess, Justin, you have any last thing to say before we head on out of here?
No, guys, I appreciate you both. Be good to each other. There's a lot of crap in this world. So when you have good friends, it makes everything better. So I'm going to cheers my Gatorade and the 108 guys right here.
There you go.
No,
Yump?
Same thing, guys.
Buffering. No, just kidding.
Laughing at things. I'm laughing because I'm looking at your face and you're making me laugh. No,
That's what she said.
Yeah. Appreciate everybody here. Thank you so much to Pete and Fids for having me and Justin on. Also, thanks everybody for listening and viewing.
And viewing tonight.
Yes.
I know you have the national championship going on in Bama.
Yep.
Just the lead.
Yes.
Bam.
And having foreskin talk in the chat for our video here.
Shlomo ran away with it. I don't know where we were going there, but
Yeah, slow-mo.
really, it's a whole narrative. It's a whole story, really. In the chat right now from Insurgent. I'm really trying to figure out what in the hell it is. But
I'm trying to figure out who stole the foreskin.
Well, I'm just wondering, does he have to use like a debit card to reclaim his foreskin from the Bank of Tel Aviv? I don't know if that requires ID or is it just like, look, it fits. I don't know. So it's like a thumbprint identify. I don't know, whatever. But we appreciate you guys tuning in this week. As we keep going, it's starting to warm up. We are now the days are getting longer as opposed to shorter. It's starting to warm up. At least here in Vegas, it was 64 degrees today. I'm sorry, you guys. It's cold there. So
I hate you.
Fine in a second, but
Get me to Vegas, man.
I know these guys will be out here actually in a nice
Fair today for March.
Yep. So, but we do appreciate you tuning in. Hope you guys all stay safe. Of course, if the weather does turn inclement over the next couple of days, just be careful, be safe, be good to each other, and I do appreciate you guys tuning in. Myself out here in Vegas, while we always get an opportunity to hang out with these guys as well. And so I do appreciate the time and just, appreciate you tuning in. Pete, with that, why don't you kind of take us on out?
Yes. Thank you, fellas, for joining. Thank you for your friendship. Hopefully, and thank you everyone who watched or listened to this, whether it was live or the podcast after it's posted. Without you, we are nothing. Well, we're something, but we don't have a show or anything like that. So let's just be clear on that. But you're talking to, with the exception of me, you're listening to a bunch of great guys. So hopefully you enjoyed it. A lot more to come. And with that, I will say that our friend, the wise man, yeah, dog, can take it away. Aloha.